Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
Alex and Tease maybe can chime in a little bit on the Super Bowl, some of the commercials. Apparently, Alex already brought one up that I totally missed.
My cousin Michelle wouldn't stop talking, so it was kind of hard.
Michelle, I have to ask the president of the Drake fan club, like, how are you doing?
He didn't play like any of his good ones. It's
No,
20 versus 1 in the industry.
I didn't know people like Tease existed.
It's done, and it just brings me so much joy that there's a little kid in Kansas City who thought he was about to get a three-peat. It's going to haunt him for 10 years, and that just brings so much joy to me.
Spoken like a true Drake fan. So disagree with him on Adam Vinatieri. Like, what more does a kicker could possibly do? Favoritism to certain franchises with the Hall of Fame that these voters just typically gravitate towards until the Patriots dynasty is on par with the other dynasties. I'm going to continue to be pissed off about it. Like Sterling Sharp getting in, like, good player, but like, is he really, a guy that, oh, thank God he got in? If those were 1970s Pittsburgh Steelers, they would have walked into the Hall of Fame. And now with the Patriots, it's like, nope, we can't let those guys in. So this goes right up my butt.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
It is Tuesday here at Gillette Stadium, and I haven't been here for a while, so I'll just start the show off. It's Evan, it's Paul, it's Deuce, it's Matt in the booth. Is there any questions that you needed me to ask last week, but because I wasn't here, I couldn't answer? Having to do with the Super Bowl or halftime or the commercials or anything.
What did you think of the Super Bowl, Fred?
I loved it. I had a great time. I know I picked Kansas City to win, but the right team for Patriots Nation won. So it was awesome. For now, the dynasty holds. Defend the wall. Defend the wall. The Patriots remain at the top of the heap. Tom Brady remains at the top of the quarterback heap. All is good. All is good.
And how about your food? Your Super Bowl food?
Oh,
You had a lot of
I'm more interested
appetizers?
in that type of
Yeah,
stuff.
no, I watch by myself, so I'm good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sad.
Not really. Not really.
Here.
No, I was all good with it.
You got the whole pregame. You were right
I watched
through
the whole thing. Yep, the whole thing. Yep, with Fox on Bourbon Street.
Did you feel like the Chiefs were going to turn it around?
I did. I thought that, okay, they're going to at some point get going, because that's the NFL, right? It's, third quarter, late third quarter, both teams start to, go up and down the field, especially in Super Bowls lately. But they had nothing. They were so dominated in the trenches that they couldn't operate their offense.
Mm-mm.
And that's what it came down to. So,
Favorite commercial?
I like the Duracell one.
Everybody.
I thought it
liked
was
that
short
one.
and sweet and simple. A little bit of a surprise there, So I that was the one I liked the best. The Seal one was good. Like, it was so weird that it was good, but yeah, that's the one I like, Duracell.
Was that the Tom Brady one where he
runs out of gas and the guy comes in from the
Right.
court. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it.
That's it.
That's all you got.
Sad. Watched it by himself.
Yeah.
And then I saw in the intro you were talking about Hall of Fame.
Defending the wall.
I kind of agree with you. My only sure thing on was Antonio Gates. Everyone else shouldn't have been in, and Vinatieri should have been in. But I get the kicker. As long as he gets in next year, I'll be okay. But if they start delaying him, like, he was the best kicker in his era, in his position. Isn't that kind of like one of the qualifications, that you dominate your position in your era? Like, if he doesn't get in as a kicker, who does?
Right.
So I think that was a snub, but I can wait a year for him. But all the other guys, Antonio Gates is my only sure thing. Like, when I see his name, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. Although I do like the way Jared Allen came in on the field on the horse. That he got a couple extra votes in my book for that.
For his entrance.
Yeah, his entrance.
Giddy up.
I'll never like the Hall of Fame.
No.
I'll always
No.
argue with them.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that bothers me.
Like,
The
you
lack
don't-
of transparency.
You don't have to have guys go in every year. Like,
Well, they didn't. This is your perfect year.
Yeah,
then.
they
Right.
cut it
They
down.
had like half the size of
Yeah.
what it has been.
yeah, and it should be, because nobody was that good.
No.
Small Hall Paul, right?
It's all politics.
Yep. A lot of it is.
Yeah, I just would have had different guys.
Yeah.
Like Sterling Sharp.
No.
Why did he have to go in?
No.
I mean, I get it.
Oh,
It's
he
tragic.
had to go in.
I mean, I get it. You know, he suffered a career-ending injury. I get it. But that doesn't mean you go to the Hall of
So
Fame.
is Bo Jackson in the Hall of Fame?
I don't.
shouldn't be.
I don't feel like,
Yeah.
you know, you should just get in based on what you would have done. Was
Right.
he tracking to as a Hall of Fame? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he got hurt.
Right.
And he couldn't play anymore. And that sucks for him. But
Terrell Davis is in, right?
yeah, he
Yeah.
shouldn't be in either.
We're
No.
going to put Robert Edwards in the
No.
Hall of Fame next.
All right. Anyway, so let's get to current events. We got the combine coming up next week. I know our staff is getting ready for that. Deuce and Evan, you'll be going down there.
Can't wait.
Excited?
Very excited.
Favorite
Yeah.
week of the year.
Combine number 5 for me.
Love that.
Very excited. Been jumping in on all the guys, you know, all the prospects, and you know, just putting together general thoughts of the class. And you know, it's just when you need a lot, everything looks appealing. I feel like that's like, you know, no matter what position you kind of look at, other than quarterback right now.
It's like going to a supermarket when you're hungry.
I know exactly.
Everything looks good.
Like, well, I mean, that's.
Yeah.
I think Evan and I are kind of on the same page about Mason Graham, but still, he's good. He's a good player. You know, it's easy to see how they could use him. But you see other bigger needs, and I hope as a defense guy, something that I beat last year into the drum of, like, you know, I feel like the defense is kind of falling apart personnel wise, and then it fell apart on the field last year to a really low level. I just hope that they can get some really young players to build around on the defensive side of the ball in the front somewhere. And I think it's a good class to be able to do that. It's, you know, those defensive ends and edges and even a couple of the outside linebacker guys who can run a little bit.
Yeah.
Very intriguing and easy to
Apparently,
throw in.
Paul had been talking to Dante Scarnecchia because Dante says in number 4, you pick guys who can get to the quarterback and score touchdowns.
I know.
Right? That's what you believe, right,
Well,
Paul?
where do you think I got it from? From Bill. Bill said that for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the hardest things to find.
Right. Guys who can score
You
touchdowns.
want
get
guys
to
that
the
score
quarterback.
touchdowns and impact the quarterback.
So
That's a fair point.
does Mason Graham fit at least to get to the quarterback? But I'm not saying he finishes, but he can cause that to happen.
Yeah, if you're kind of splitting hairs, you know, he's a pressure guy. I wouldn't say he's a sack guy, but he definitely causes pressure up the interior on the quarterback. So if that fits the build, you know, from that respect, then yeah, I would say he can do that sort of thing.
So that's defense. On offense, Ted McMillan had some comments recently that I kind of liked. You know, like he's showing a little bit of swagger.
Yeah, he definitely has swagger.
Yeah.
I think with Ted McMillan, you worry about some issues with play speed and long speed, you know, top end speed to win over the top. And he just doesn't really have that like dynamic gear in the open field that you would think of like a top 5 pick in the draft. You know, like this is not, when you pick a receiver that high, you're expecting it to be Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, you know, like somebody like that. And that's just not the level of prospect that he is, but that doesn't make him a bad player. It's just, you know, I would say that about a lot of this draft.
Right.
You know, most of those guys.
But somebody
Mason
has
Graham.
to get picked 4th, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
Mason Graham, you know, I was listening to Dame Brugler on one of Paul's shows. He's like, well, he's not Quinnen Williams, but he's like a good prospect, right? Like, that's what all this draft is. Like, Ted McMillan is not Julio Jones, but he's a good prospect. You know, it's a tough spot. It's a tough spot to be in.
Cam Ward's certainly lobbying for himself to go high. I mean, does things like that, like when he says, you know, somebody's not going to take me, but they're going to have to play me for the rest of my career, and they're going to regret it. Does that help in his, you know, stock? Does that help his stock at all? Showing that confidence.
I mean, did you believe it when he said it? Did you hear him say? I don't know. That's why. I mean, I just think a lot of this stuff is what you have to say right now, especially as a quarterback trying to improve your stock and get him up into the top 5. And there's so much speculation whether or not he's able to, you know, whether he might be able to do that. So I hope he can. I think it'd be great for the Patriots if he's able to. I just think there's 2 drafts right now. You're sitting at 4, or there's that wide world of a trade down. I never thought a trade down was possible last year. I thought you're going to stick at 3. Kind of want Drake May. Hope he's there. But now it seems like if they do get a trade opportunity, there's a lot to like about trading down and some of the opportunities that open. I say all that, though, with They need talent, and if there's a blue chip guy there,
Well, there's none. There's no blue chip.
You know, if
I would
there's-
say
I mean,
Abdul Carter.
if
might
there's
be-
Hunter or Carter there,
think
I
there's
think you
Hunter.
kind of have
I think
to do
there's
it.
there's 2.5.
No.
If Genti's a running back, so I just don't even like.
Right.
You know, I'm not considering that for the Patriots, but I think Carter and Hunter are both blue chip prospects.
Right.
But you know, besides those two, and in this draft, it feels like the strength is in the top. You know, half of the first round is in the depth of it, where like 4 through 12 is kind of all the same level of player. But the issue is with the trade down scenarios is that somebody needs to want to trade up. Yeah. So it's like, how are you convincing these teams behind you to trade up for a player is more complicated in my mind than, it would be great to trade down. Like, this is a trade down year for multiple reasons.
Yeah, you'd have to have a team that just loves a certain player for a certain reason.
Yeah, probably a quarterback, but even then, it complicates things of how much are you actually getting in the trade down, because this is a little bit of a watered down year for quarterbacks too. So is someone really going to give you a package that's worthwhile to come up and get Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders? Like, I don't know. So that, when it comes to the trade down, like, that's the part I can't wrap my head around. It's obvious why the Patriots would want to trade down.
Sure.
But why is
Right.
somebody coming up to get their pick
Yeah.
is a different conversation, because there's a million prospects, like as Deuce was saying, from 4 to 12 that have appeal. Will Campbell, Mason Graham, Tet McMillan, Tyler Warren, Jalen Walker. Like, all those guys, you could say the Patriots could use that guy. So trading down makes a lot of sense, but you got to get somebody to bite on the
Like I
pick.
said, somebody has to be in love with a certain player.
Well, the one you kind of see popping up right now is the Raiders trading up to 4 to get Shedeur. That's some of the mock drafts that people throw out there. I think they're 7 or 8, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you buy it, but that it's the move
So,
that maybe would make sense.
Like, maybe I've just missed it, but are you surprised of the lack of noise we're hearing from Deion Sanders and or Shedeur Sanders? Like, there's
a little bit.
like they've been quiet.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of lobbying behind the scenes going on, back channeling with those guys. I don't think he wants to go to Cleveland. That's just my hunch. I think that's like a hard pass for him. But I think if it was the Giants or the Titans, he would be okay with it. But for some reason, it sounds like Cleveland is for both guys, both Colorado guys, actually.
So Combine coming up, and obviously draft is end of April, but before that, free agency is going to open up. And we heard, I guess it's still a report. I don't know if Cincinnati has confirmed it, but the report is that they will be franchising T. Higgins.
Yeah.
If they can't reach a long-term extension.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I wouldn't expect that to happen until, it could happen today.
Right.
Today's the open of the window, but
Right.
they have till March 4th.
Yeah.
So if they legitimately want to sign him, then continue to negotiate.
Yeah, and I think they will. Even if they can't reach an extension up until March 4th, they'll do it so they can keep control of him, because the thing they have to worry about is Joe Burrow. They don't want to piss him off.
So you were been away a long time. You don't shine shoes no more. Did you hear Joe Burrow's comments last week about the salary cap?
No, what did he say?
My new favorite quarterback of all time. He supplanted Elway.
What did he say?
It's crap.
Yeah.
Like, you can all the different things that teams can
Sure.
do to get around it.
Yep.
And
This isn't a salary cap issue.
he's
though.
absolutely going to be upset if they cop out and cheap out and don't give him the money.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
a that issue though. It's
Yeah.
not a
Mike
salary
Brown
cap.
No
doesn't give
question.
him-
That's what, and
Yeah.
that's what he like. People will do it, and I've already seen it. I think Javon Holland is one of the guys that people cap casualty. That's not what it is. It's not cap casualties. It's I don't want to pay that guy that much to do that. That's not a cap casualty.
Well,
That's
okay.
just I don't want that player anymore at that price.
You're right. See, I don't want to turn this into Fred and Paul are saying the same thing, but they're arguing anyway.
What? That's the
But
show.
like in the case of like
What
part of
happened
the
to the
show.
show when I left?
but in the case of like the Saints, they're going to have to make decisions. And the guys that they decide to cut or do whatever with their contract, those are a result of being over the cap. So
The guys they don't want, they'll get rid of.
right. But whether or not you want to call them cap casualties or not, they are. They were cut because of the cap.
That says you. I will respect your wishes to not get involved.
No,
in
but you know what I mean? Like it's
same- well, the
In a
same-
semantics argument.
I can agree with you. Both things can be true. You can do whatever you want with the cap. That is true. But the cap causes you to have to do things.
Yeah. And
And that's
the
all. That's
thing-
all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I think
There is a cap.
Yeah.
It does
Yeah.
exist.
Right.
It's just you can do literally dozens of things
but sometimes,
to avoid it.
But sometimes there's a sacrifice in order to be made to do what you want to do for somebody.
I think the Saints are an extreme example because they're
Yeah.
the only team in the league that runs the cap the way that they run it. So
They're poster children from my end of the bargain.
yeah,
Because-
because they just look at it as like credit, and the
Yeah.
bill never gets due.
And they're going to be in the same
so they're
spot
just
next
keep
year.
kicking it.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Whereas opposed to a team like Cincinnati, where it feels more like they don't really
Cheap.
want to play the
Well,
cash,
yeah.
right? Like they don't
Yeah.
want to pay the cash out. So it's two different things. But I'm interested to see what other guys might get franchised too. Like, what happens with Ronnie Stanley. I think that's a move that if you're Baltimore, you probably want to get him secured if you're going to keep him. We talked about Alec Jackson with the Rams, another young tackle that I've seen some speculation that maybe he could get the tag. I think those are positions that impact the Patriots where, if you don't get Will Campbell, I'd love, like I've said it before, I'd love to get one of those top-ranked tackles in free agency if they're able to. And those guys even hit free
The
agency.
T. Higgins thing, I think, impacts the Patriots in a negative way, and it's not just because they can't get T. Higgins. That's the guy I would target, but it's a trickle down. So everybody was going to be interested in T. Higgins.
Yeah.
So now everybody that was really interested in a wide receiver is going to go to the next guy.
Right.
And like a team like the Chargers, as an example, who probably needs another weapon with Ladd McConkey to knock Quentin Johnston down.
Yeah.
In importance. Maybe they want Chris Godwin, or maybe they want one of the other wide receivers that's available.
Steph Diggs, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think with Higgins, it gets lost a lot of the time because it's the second year in a row. It's only $26 million to tag him for next season, which is nowadays that's the going rate.
He's going to make. He's only going to make about 30.
Right. So we're not talking about it being an overpay by any means for Cincinnati to just keep kicking it down the road and have him play on the tag. Now Higgins could sit out, I guess in theory, but
plus they have Hendrickson too, who they're going to they're in the
Mm-hmm.
same spot, and obviously they got to do something with Chase, but Chase is not going to get. He's not in a position to get franchised. He's under contract. But Hendrickson is looking for an extension. Chase is looking for an extension, and Higgins. So we'll see.
I just think when you hear people talk about it, they're like, "Oh, it's the second year in a row. It's this big jump." It's not that big of a jump. Like now, instead of 20, it's 26, and that's the going rate for a really good wide receiver. $26 to $30 million a year. So they're really kind of underpaying him. For next year in a way. Like he's going to lose money. Big time, I would say, on the open market because, if he got himself into a bidding war with multiple teams, he was probably going to get closer to the top of the market than the bottom of the market. So if I was T. Higgins, I'd be pretty pissed that
He might be. I don't know. Have we heard from him since they made that announcement? Well, again, they haven't announced it, but the report.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Evan, can I ask you a question? I mean, all this talk about the weapons of it all, and I know you even said this, it's hard not to think about those tight ends in the draft this year at 4. As much as Will Campbell is a need, and Paul brought up the thing that Dante said, Gronk was the number 1. One of these tight ends, is there an argument to be made that you give Drake May a dynamic young tight end who's going to be with him for the long haul and can catch and can run and has the size to do some of the dirty work, and it's not the number 1 receiver that everybody's been clamoring for, but it might actually be the number 1 that Drake May needs.
And it might be a more of a sure thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you stack the talent up, like Evan said, is there much of a difference between, these guys with Tyler and with Mason Graham at that spot or Will Campbell at that spot?
Yeah,
I don't know.
The tight ends are really intriguing. Colston Loveland's the other one from Michigan, who's more in that Travis Kelce, Brock Bowers type of mold, like a big receiver.
Yeah, I mean, how many catches did Brock Bowers have this year? It's an instant, high volume impact.
Now he doesn't have a ton of targets throughout his course of his college career. Like Tyler Warren has, been in college for 10 years, so he's has a bunch of more production, more volume.
10 years.
But it's fun. It's two different categories of tight ends, like we talk about with Gronk and Kelce. Tyler Warren is the Gronk prototype. He's a 6'6", 250, 260 pound tight end that can block, that can put his hand in the dirt, that can catch the football and do all those different things. And then Colston Loveland is an explosive receiver that's kind of just a giant slot receiver. And it's just a matter of which guy, which flavor would you rather have. And I think there's a conversation for both those guys in the spot for the Patriots. But in order to get there, I feel like you have to address the trenches in free agency. Like you have to go into the draft with a left tackle, and go into the draft with some pass rush, and go into the draft with all those holes filled, because otherwise it's hard to just pick.
What
that
would you
type of
rather?
player.
The Patriots get one or two of the best at their position free agents, or 7 or 8 good players and free agents?
One.
You'd rather do one?
I'd rather get a Ronnie Stanley and a Chris Godwin and a Dre Greenlaw, and those 3 guys, and that's it. And go 3 big spots.
7 or 8 good players?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
I'll take 7 or 8 good players.
I know. And even then, even when, no matter who you get in free agency, we've talked about it before, half of them, if you get quantity, half of them will work out.
In general terms, my mindset would be more like Mike. On my show, they say, give me the horse, not the ponies.
Right.
But if you're talking about 7 or 8 as opposed to 3, like Brock Bowers, how'd they do?
What do you mean?
You can't be any better than Brock Bowers was as a rookie tight end. I mean,
Right.
he set all kinds of records.
Right.
They stink. It's not his fault.
Right.
He's great.
Yeah.
But adding 1 or 2 doesn't do what
It doesn't get you
do
there.
what 8 could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Paul. I would probably rather go that route and then look for the ceiling in the draft. And then when you get to the draft, you can really take those big swings on those needle mover type players, whether it's a pass rusher, or pass catcher, or whatever. I think if they could build the lines in free agency, then they can do that in the draft. But it's a lot easier said than done with the free agent market, especially on the offensive line. Like, are you going to be able to build an offensive line through free agency? I don't know, especially once Ronnie Stanley gets tagged and Trey Smith gets tagged, and now you're getting to free agency, and Cam Robinson is the best tackle. It's like, okay,
I just love it though. The Super Bowl happens, and the Eagles win in the trenches, but they won everywhere else too, by the way. But
thank you, Fred Kirsch.
But all of a sudden, that's the way to do it.
Right,
you have to build
You have
from the inside
you
out.
have to build in the trenches first.
It's unbelievable,
Just like last year, you have to have a unicorn quarterback.
Right.
2 years out, you have to have a running game.
Right.
It's fodder for
Super Bowl
our
one.
talk.
You need the power sweep.
Right.
It's all the we talked about a little bit last week. It's fodder for our discussion, and that's what we say. But does it have a real impact on the draft itself? And would you say that now, whereas last year maybe teams were like, we got to trade up and get Shadur Sanders, we need to find the unicorn. I mean, is the reaction, well, I don't know, they developed Jalen Hurts, they just went for the best defensive lineman, let's just take Mason Graham. Is it tangible results from this, or is it just kind of conjecture from us?
You would think that these personnel departments and these teams would be smarter than that.
I know, right?
The recency bias would not affect them, but it may not be true,
right?
Yeah. And I think it's a copycat league in a lot of ways. Like we're talking about Bowers, like those 2 tight ends are going to fly off the board because everybody's going to look at the rookie season that Bowers had. And
first of all,
why not?
No disrespect to Elliott Wolf, but Howie Roseman seems to be a pretty good GM. I think that's part of it too.
Yeah,
I think
He's on a heater too.
Hits.
Let's say everything he's touching right now is working.
Right.
But I also just I think that Howie Roseman is a testament to consensus sometimes is the smartest way to go. Like they have drafted name brand big time program type players like Jalen Carter, Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson. They're not going to UT Chattanooga. They're not.
But
they're not going
just
to
as a
Lenoir
point of
Ryan.
comparison, when I say that he's on a heater, like the Jalen Carter pick is really enormous, and it's not all that different to first iteration Dynasty when Belichick would take, when you're on a heater and you take Gronk, when he didn't play a down of football was last year at Arizona, and he turns out to be the best tight end in history. That's a pick that when you're on a heater and you're going good, works out.
Yeah.
When Jalen Carter, who should have been probably the first overall pick, does some stupid stuff in between his Georgia career and the draft and falls to what?
10.
10?
I believe it was 10.
You take him, he just as easily could have continued to do more stupid stuff.
Yep.
And been in the police blotter, and you'd get nothing out of him. Instead, he was the single most impactful player I watched in the playoffs. And I watched all the playoff games.
Yep.
He was the most dominant player in the playoffs that I watched.
And it's a testament to the
that's when you're living right. When you make that pick, he falls in your lap, which is, first of all, that's a great break. And then he doesn't do the stupid stuff yet anyway, and you win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
That's when you're living right.
testament to the program. You know, like they brought him into a really good team and a really good culture, and like they were able to, so far at least, like put all of that stuff behind.
Speaking of that, it reminds me that episode 1 of 2004 Super Bowl Odyssey. What's the official name?
Yeah, so Super
Yes.
Bowl Odyssey. Yeah, it's Dynasty.
Yes.
Episode
Yeah.
1 and episode 2 just dropped about a half hour
They
ago.
had the same scenario with Corey Dillon.
Yep.
They brought a guy who was a malcontent. People thought,
Yeah.
and they brought him into a program that was established with veterans in a way
I
about
made
it.
I made that comp in my notes this
Yeah,
morning.
and,
Absolutely the same thing.
And Corey Dillon worked out, and there's some really great stuff with Corey Dillon in it. So
Yeah. Well,
you
thank-
can find that anywhere you can get your podcasts. It's episode 1's out. Episode 1 of 3.
Yeah,
Two-
4.
two's out now.
1 of 4. Yeah,
One of
2's out
4.
now, and 2 more coming down the pipeline the rest of the week. But shout out to Paul and Matt, who they actually did the dirty work of interviewing Corey
Yep.
Dillon. I know that might have been a little scary for you, Paul, based on.
Oh, it was great. He was terrific. I
Yeah.
told him.
Yeah.
I told him you were literally one of 3 guys in that locker room really that frightened me, and he just started laughing.
He seems so.
And I told him the
so
whole
nice.
story. He goes, "So I remember."
No, but you had Corey Dillon.
Oh,
you
yeah.
had Matt Patricia. You had Scott Pioli.
Yeah, Brewski.
Brewski, yeah.
You know, I felt like Deion Branch and Brewski were 2 that had to have for that season. But no, it was we were planning on doing 3, and then Matt got into 3, and then we're like, this is too long, so we're doing 3 and 4 for just the first 2 playoff games, and then the last the Super Bowl and some reflections on it.
It's good
So-
stuff. It's all audio.
Yep.
So put it on when you're in the gym or driving or whatever. It's a really good listen.
I'd say
So
too,
good-
like
good job.
I want to make one sales point on it too, because it's something I realized listening to a draft Matt sent me last night in my car is like, it's so fun to listen to Gil and Gino's radio calls in your car again, and to hear that audio and to hear the fan reaction. And there's nothing else like that. Like, and I heard God, somebody around the office was just talking. It might have been you, Paul, talking about those guys yesterday and just how iconic those calls were. And it just takes you right back to that age. And I don't know, it's just, there's something to me about audio, like listening to it on the radio, that just, I don't know, it triggers something in your memory really, really cool. So I enjoy that part. So if you get a chance, listen to it. Listen in your car, listen loud. You'll be like you're sitting back in Gillette Stadium when they were kicking butt back in 04.
It just reminds me of how buttoned up they really were. I mean, that team was buttoned up.
They could win, however.
They had all the angles
Best
covered.
Patriots team ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's...
I mean, if 07 had completed the deal, but when you look at just every aspect of it, it was the Eagles plus Tom Brady. They, like, wherever you looked on the team, they had really good players.
Yeah, I think you can make an argument that the 04 team was more talented than the 07 team. Now, you're right. Had they finished it, no one would ever make.
Right.
I would, because I'm a contrarian.
Sure.
And I'm an argumentative by nature, but.
Yeah.
I just think that there was no weakness on the 04 team, whereas I thought the 07 defense was greatly propped up by the offense.
Yes.
I don't think the defense was great.
Yep.
It had great numbers.
Yeah, they were
because they
getting
just
long in the
pounded you into
tooth.
submission.
Yeah,
they were
they
getting
made
low.
you a one-dimensional team every
Right.
game.
I think too the performance in the playoffs that stood out to me going back, because we kind of make fun of them in the later years that they're playoff teams. In the first round, it was all right. This is a gimme. The first round you're playing Peyton Manning, coming off of putting 49 points on the Broncos. I think he threw 49 touchdowns and set the league record that year. I mean, that was an elite offense that was coming into Gillette. And then Pittsburgh had lost 1 game all year. I mean, it's and the Patriots handled them both pretty easily. I mean, the hardest of the game, the 3 was the Eagles. But it was special team, and to Evan's kind of point with the Eagles, when you get to this point where you're kind of from a position of strength, you like your roster, there are a lot of things it gives you a little bit more freedom, you're a little bit more loose. Like now as a Patriots fan, color analyst, whatever, covering this team, it's like you're kind of tense because you need so much and you're wondering how it's going to fall. And a team like the Eagles, maybe they probably didn't go in thinking we're going to get Jalen Carter, but they're like, sure, yeah, we don't have any other, we don't have a huge hole at left tackle right now, or we don't have a huge hole at another position, pass rusher, whatever it is. We can kind of do what we want. I think it's just that's where that Patriots team was too. They were able to kind of take chances, and you draft a guy like Ben Watson, who didn't really do a whole heck of a lot, but still became a pretty good player. And down the road, and you're not so. Right. We need it now. We need this guy to come, like this 4th overall pick. He's got to come in. He's got to save our offensive line.
Like, so you're the defending Super Bowl champs, and you go into the draft with 2 number 1 picks.
So crazy.
Like,
well, it's the same thing as Carter, right? I mean, that's what happened with Wilfork. Wilfork fell.
They
Same exact thing.
Bill was way ahead of the curve in terms of draft pick value and all that kind of stuff. And like they would just collect first round picks some years, and you would just be like, wait, they have two, like Chandler Jones and Dante Hightower. Like, how did this happen? And then like everybody else, I feel like now has sort of caught up to the value of the picks, but he was way ahead on that.
He used to credit Jimmy Johnson for it.
Yeah.
You know, Jimmy Johnson used to say, you know, they criticized him, saying it's draft day, not trade day, and Jimmy Johnson would laugh about it. And you know, him and Belichick would have a lot of conversations, and they, you know, obviously Dallas has that famous trade that they rebuilt their entire team with the Herschel Walker move. That was all draft picks, really.
Yep.
And you know, Bill did a lot of the same stuff. But just to, like, you're the Super Bowl champs, and you come into the draft, you know, 2 months later, with 2 first-round picks, one of which ends up tearing his ACL and doesn't do anything for you. And it doesn't matter because you got Will Fork, who was a really good player and contributed right away. And you had such a good team. You end up acquiring, again, on draft day, Corey Dillon, which is, you know, it's almost like a draft pick because of the way it all came down. It just
I would say too,
again,
Paul.
when you're living right and you're making these moves and they're all working out. You know?
Something you pointed out too in the podcast as I was going through it were that you also had, you know, the rising tide raises all ships. You had younger players who were Asante Samuel, you know, not a highly drafted guy, but surrounded by greatness, and he kind of gets swept up in it, and now he starts to play really well, makes some key plays during that season. It's you know, you feel the difference between when a team has that kind of energy, which clearly the Eagles and, you know, other teams have right now that the Patriots had back then. That, you know, sometimes those moves, like just because the culture, it would lift guys up and guys would perform, you know, suddenly would improve and contribute, and there just hasn't been enough of that around here. I think that's something that's missing, that they're trying to get back to establish that, to, you know, try to get more of those draft picks to develop.
Yeah, I mean, but it was, you know, it was a long time coming. It just didn't happen overnight. It started in the 90s. You know, some of the foundation of that defense in particular happened in the 90s.
Yeah, Vinatieri, Bruschi, Lawyer Malloy, McGinnis.
Yeah,
you know, it's Teddy Johnson, another one.
Yep.
And, you know, it's funny, teams get on heaters, like Paul said. You get, you know, the Roman Pfeiffers of the world and the Mike Vrabels, and you sign these guys who are more that second option, as you said, Fred, earlier, to sign a bunch of guys who are good, and they all kind of work out. And not only do they work out, some of them become, you know, Patriots Hall of Famers.
I mean, you went 15 years with a first-round pick that was really good every time. Like, it was like 90+%, you know, hit rate. And I'm like, you don't do that. And it was a long time. It wasn't just, remember I used to argue with Andy.
Yeah.
When I used to call him a very good drafter. And Andy would take exception to the very part.
Right.
You know, imagine that. I was on Belichick's side.
Very.
First round pick, he always hit it down the fairway for years. Like, it might
Like
not have
for
been,
a long time.
It might not have been a game changer, but it was always
no, like Ben Watson was
Right.
just, you know, he was a good player.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't call it a home, but you're also picking, you know, between 25 and 32 every year.
Right.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's
Daniel
almost
Graham.
a second.
Sir, you know, good blocker.
Yeah.
You know,
Lawrence Maroney.
They all had roles.
Lawrence
Like, they
Maroney
all
was the
played
first one that
Him
kind of
and-
missed.
Yeah.
Brendan Merriweather.
Yeah.
You know,
Merriweather. Yeah.
But even
That
still,
was-
kind of
that
had the
was-
Sony
that
Michel
was
thing
the
where
next year, 07.
came through in some big games and, you know, helped you win some playoff games. Didn't get you over the hump
Oh,
like
Maroney
Sony
was
Michel
huge
did,
in the
but-
07 playoffs, in the 2 games to get there,
Yep.
which were closer than people remember, the Jacksonville and Chargers games.
Yep.
And then, you know, obviously nothing worked on offense in the Super Bowl.
It's so funny that Jacksonville and then the Chargers with like Phillip Rivers playing on no ACL, right?
Yep.
And who knows what was wrong with LaDainian Tomlinson?
No Gates,
like,
no Tomlinson, and the quarterback on a torn ACL. Patriots football.
Those were the days. Those were the days.
All right, 855-PATS-500 is the TPX hotline. That's 855-PATS-500. Podcast at patriots.com is the email address. What else? Anything else that we need to touch on before?
Well, you had thoughts on the basketball All-Star game.
Oh, jeez, Fred came in hot.
No,
I said he watched.
Listen,
Came in, he was mad because I didn't watch it.
when you know, when things are new, I like to give them a shot just so I can have an informed opinion on it. And so I wanted to see how this new format was going to work out, and it wasn't good. It was they still didn't try. You know, I made the example, like, how many turnovers does Steph Curry have in a normal game? Like, hardly any, right? He had like 10. He's just throwing the ball. He's taking half-court shots. Guys aren't playing defense. They're still not trying.
Yeah.
They're still not trying. So just wasn't good. And the format now is the first team to 40 points, but they're taking breaks in between, and the players are getting aggravated on the side. Like, can we just finish this game? I don't know what the answer is, but they haven't found it yet.
It seems like they're trying. Like they're
Like,
throwing it all at the wall,
you
but
give them
nothing
credit
seemed to
for
work.
trying.
Right?
That's why I invested the time. I
Yeah.
watched the whole night.
I would just do what the hockey does and go with the U.S. versus
Fights.
the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't be like the hockey because the hockey's just different, and they'll treat it. Hockey's going to treat it more seriously than any of the other sports when they do that. But there's enough good players, international players now, that you can have a good team. And I don't think that the players would go into it and just say, I don't care if we win or not.
Yeah.
I think there would be. It might not be like playoff intensity, but it'd be better than the typical all-star.
The only difference is,
atmosphere.
like, what hockey's doing, it's you are still playing for your country. U.S. versus the world is U.S. versus everybody, lumped together in one team. And so I don't know if the pride would be there for the world team, because who am I playing for? The world? I'm not playing for my country.
Well, they all hate us, so
Yeah,
they would try.
I guess. But it would be better if somehow you could have, a team from Serbia, a team from.
Yeah, there's not enough of that.
I know there isn't.
The individual countries, I don't think there's enough from any one country
right.
to do it. And maybe if you did it like, I don't know, like the gold medal game with France was pretty intense.
It was intense. So it wasn't. I mean, you never felt like the U.S. was going to lose.
You didn't?
No.
I watched a different game
Evan's
then
very
because I saw Steph Curry go absolutely out of his mind in the last 3 minutes of the game.
Right,
Win.
and that was the
but-
difference.
The game was hanging in the balance. It was a 2-point game.
But that was always going to happen.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I never.
Fred, when I'm no
I had
longer
zero-
working here and I'm allowed to bet, I'm going to talk to Evan and ask him what's going to
I
happen.
had absolutely zero tension in that game. I had way more tension in the semifinal game. They actually almost lost.
They should have lost the semifinal game.
Yeah.
But I was
Yeah.
just talking about the intensity level of that France game. And France is not as talented, but they were both going at each other. Yabusele played out of his mind in that game.
Played the whole tournament. But yeah, I think the world team is the best way to do it. World versus United States.
Yeah.
I don't know if there will be an intense level to it, but there is like a somewhat little rivalry brewing between the fact that everybody thinks that the international players are now better than the United States, players from America.
Well, there's just
So-
not enough of them. They are. Some of the best players in the NBA are international players.
Not all of the bench players on the world team would be true all-stars, but they could make a team that you recognize.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's
You
players.
could get 8, 12 guys.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like you'd have, guys like Jamal Murray would be coming off the bench. Bogdan Bogdanovic would be coming off the bench. Like they could make an NBA team out of it.
You never heard of Jamal
But
Murray?
but their starting five would be I think would be better.
Who's telling
than
me
the-
about this
the
guy who's going to be the MVP? It's
So-
like
Shea
BCR or
Gilgeous-Al-
something. What is it?
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
I think their starting five would be better.
What about? No, I was going to say like the top college players.
Well, they do that with the select team.
Yeah.
And it's always like Cooper Flag will go off and everybody else doesn't belong on the court. But, Cooper Flag was like, he could have potentially done like what Anthony Davis did and been on USA this past time, as like the 12th guy on the team. But I think the world team could potentially put together a good team. I don't know if they would care. I don't know if they would care. And that's all that matters, is if they care or not.
What about like 2-on-2 basketball, like at the beach? Like that's the All-Star
I would
game.
say the best thing that I would want to see at the All-Star game, which would probably happen on Saturday night, is one-on-one. I think that would be fantastic.
So the women did a one-on-one thing, and it got a little attention. And then, I think Giannis had said that he'd be interested in doing that.
One-on-one?
So that's the
Yeah.
key, is if you can get the stars to want to do it, because they won't want to lose.
Yeah.
right.
One-on-one, you're going to try, because you
Yeah.
don't want to be embarrassed.
That's true. But how about thinking out of the box?
That said, I hate one-on-one basketball.
Double the
It's
size
boring
of the
to
court
watch.
and have 10-on-10. So now you really have strategy.
Yeah. Could there be like a
Put
5-point
the
shot?
mayonnaise in the
Blah, blah.
can with the tuna.
I just think one-on-one, first of all, we all grew up playing one-on-one against our
Oh, sure.
friends,
Yeah.
and so there's like that element of it, which is cool. But
it's boring to watch.
I think it's boring to watch.
I don't know. One-on-one King of the Court like style
Yeah.
is a lot of fun, and they do that in these like Team USA practices and stuff. And like there's that old video of KG just like going up and down the court, and he's just beating everybody in his way. And he goes like through like the entire Team USA roster and beats every single one of them in one-on-one. Like if someone did that in an all-star setting, I think it would be cool. It does sound like the dunk contest, like some of the guys, obviously they're trying to get like Ja and Ant and those guys to actually participate, and they were on Twitter after the dunk contest being like, we need to beat this G League kid.
He's unbelievable.
He's
Bob.
jumping over cars
I
for
know,
crying out
I
loud.
But that was way better than Blake Griffin's jumping over the car dunk.
Yeah.
He just did a Kia. I think this guy had a bigger sedan.
Well, he dumped over the whole car.
Full size.
He just did.
Cadillac.
Yeah. But yeah, so I do think next year's dunk contest could have some bigger names. It sounds like the like stars are starting to be like, we're really letting this G League kid steal the show. Like, maybe
they're not going to beat him.
Well, they're gonna have to do something, because I mentioned this yesterday on my show, because it was actually my show yesterday.
Yeah, you co-hosted yesterday.
When have you ever remember NHL going against the NBA in anything, and the NHL winning?
Killing it.
Yeah.
And the NHL killed them
Yeah.
with that U.S.-Canada game
Yeah.
Saturday night.
Yep.
And I don't know what the numbers are, because I don't believe the numbers, as you know.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about interest.
Oh, yeah.
No one was talking about your thing,
Right.
first to 40,
Yeah.
which I actually kind of like the idea of that rather than a timed game. But everybody was talking about, Twitter. My Twitter was blowing up.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you
Well, to be
you
fair,
catch
it's
the
not,
3 fights in 9 seconds. My Twitter was blowing
it's
up.
not exactly apples to apples, right?
No, it's an exhibition,
It's supposed to be.
yeah,
not a
but
competition.
This is the first time that they've had international hockey in like a decade, and like they weren't in the last Olympics, the NHL players. So like this one, like Matthew Tkachuk's talking about how he's waited 9 years to like play in a USA tournament. You know, so like I think it's a little bit different.
All right.
I'm just saying the NHL got more attention
Absolutely.
than the NBA, and that I cannot recall that happening a single time in my lifetime.
Nope.
No, that's fair.
All right, so podcast@patriots.com is the email address. We got a combine on the table. We got free agency on the table. NBA All-Star, Four Nations, whatever you want to talk about, it's all on the table. So let's see. James Pettigrew, the most interesting Patriots fan in the world, writes in about the All-Star
we got that
game.
right, Mike. I think we got it right. The most interesting Patriots fan in the world.
Okay.
Yeah. Make it a 3-versus-3 round-robin contest. Players can choose their own teams. Give the winning team $15 million.
That's what it would take.
They've tried
Cash
to bribe
purse.
them with money. They've tried.
Trips.
These guys make so much money. They don't
They
care.
don't care.
Like they're making $60 million a year. They just don't care.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a bummer.
What if
but-
it's a lot of money to your favorite charity? So if you lose, you're letting down
care
sick
less.
kids.
Kobe had the thing, and I know
Shoot
this
them.
made the rounds again yesterday, but when Kobe. Was really bummed out about the lack of competitiveness in the All-Star game. This is years ago. And he just said, these guys treat pickup games at UCLA like it's life or death. Why can't they do that for one day?
Yeah.
There's got to be some way to incentivize them to try.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. I don't know what the perfect scenario is, but I haven't heard anything that's better than setting up some fakakta tournament, U.S. versus the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying to Fred earlier though, like watching the All-Star game was like a religion in my house. Like I watched it every single year. They never tried until like the very end of the game. Like they would.
No, this is not a new phenomenon.
No, they would always have like the Harlem Globetrotters style game for like 3.5 quarters, and then if the game was close with like 4 or 5 minutes to go,
they would say we might as well win it.
yeah, they'd put their best 5 on each team, would go on the floor, and they'd play a real game for like.
And someone might
the final
actually
5
commit a
minutes.
foul.
Yeah.
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 Dave in Wisconsin writes in, if both Carter and Hunter are available at number 4 and the Patriots pass on both, how angry or disappointed will you be?
Oof.
Not a scenario I'm considering.
I couldn't. I mean,
I'd be angry if they passed on both of those
Oh,
guys.
God, yeah.
That would
Not happening.
Yeah, I'd be really, I can't
I mean,
imagine that happening.
I don't think I would resign like I did with Richard Seymour, but I'd be pretty angry.
We talked about this earlier, but Brandon in Maine wants to know
Brandon and
who we feel are the blue chip prospects. Like we said, there's 2. It's Travis Hunter and it's
That seems to be the
Abdul
consensus.
Carter, right?
And
Yeah,
Jeffy.
you get into projections. It's guys that have warts or certain things you got to get around, or guys are young and raw. I think that's a common theme with some of
you
these
guys,
stars.
we talked about tight ends a little bit. Do you guys have any concerns about Tyler Warren?
No.
Or am I the only one?
I
That
haven't
doesn't
really-
slow.
Am I the only one that doesn't like him as much as everybody else?
Yeah.
I haven't really allowed
Which is
myself
fine.
to.
I've been the lone wolf a lot.
Yeah, I haven't. I look at him as one of the donut guys. One of the guys that's going to go between 4 and 25, and I feel like that's a spot where they're probably not
I
going to
really
pick. So
like him.
I like
I really
him too.
like him. I think he's a really good player. I think he's got some versatility. I'm not sure he's at that level that people say, but I'm by
Yeah.
no means am I an expert.
Well, he
I'm
was
not
in
a,
10 years in college, right?
I'm not a ball watcher.
I think it's a different.
Ball
You were
knower,
talking
sorry.
about him in Loveland earlier. It's a flavor thing. Like he's not overly explosive. Like he's not a field stretcher from that position. He's not a top end speed guy. He's got some burst through the top of routes and with the ball in his hands, but he's just not I wouldn't say his play speed like pops off the tape at you, but he's so well rounded. Like he's versatile. He can block from everywhere. Like he's your prototypical Y tight end. Like if they were to like put a definition next to it, it would be a prospect like Tyler Warren.
It's so funny, and I think Tyler Warren falls into this category for me. So many of these tight ends, once they get the ball in their hands, they're already like falling forward, and when like Gronk would be an exception. Like when he get the ball in his hands, he's trying to like make a guy miss, and a lot of these tight ends, even like kind of the really good ones, like they're already falling forward as the guy comes to them. It's like almost like they want to protect their legs. It's so weird. Have you noticed that? Like Fourier was the.
Fourier used to trip a lot.
No, but he was like the the leader of the pack with this. He looked like a deer just born. Something when he had the ball.
I made
in
the
his
mistake of teasing him about that once. He got really mad.
But even Kelsey now, like when he was younger, he didn't do this. But now, like when contact's coming, like he'll go cover up and like start to lean forward before a guy even hits him. And it just seems a weird thing about tight ends. There's very few of them that actually try to like expose himself and try to make a guy miss.
Kind of see it like two buckets.
And
like,
I would put Tyler Warren in the category. He
Yeah.
doesn't try to make guys miss.
No, he's
Yeah.
like
Run
I'm
through.
going to drag 3 people
Yeah.
for some extra
Yeah.
yards. He's not a elusive
Right.
open field runner, but when he gets up to a top speed, he can move for his size, and then it's going to take a village to
Sure.
bring him down because
Yeah.
he's so big. But he's not a elusive runner. I'd agree with that.
Ford and Savannah, welcome back, Fred. Thank you. Evan, I'm with you 100% on the disrespect of the Patriots in the Hall of Fame. Adam should become truly famous by refusing the Hall of Fame jacket when he finally gets it. Or Brady could do the
Finally.
same
He had to
until
wait
his
a year.
deserving teammates get theirs, and they go in as a team just as they left the tunnel in the first Super Bowl of the Dynasty.
I kind of like that last one. I don't know about refusing the job.
And lastly, Mike, did you get your hair cut at Sport Clips? Because I did, and it looks very similar. The hairdresser asked me if I wanted a number 2. I said, I don't know what that is, but sure. Now I look similar to you. It's definitely too short on my head. Looks good on you, though.
I went to Evan's place, actually. Went to Evan's place.
Oh, you went to
right here
what
on
is
the
it, G?
what's it called?
GA Barbershop.
GA Barbershop.
I have to go there tomorrow.
I
Get my
went there.
combine cut.
Yeah, right down the street.
Yeah, I
I
just
thought
wanted
the guy was going to say I went in and asked for the deuce.
Yeah, right. Well, I did. I actually
Not
did
the
ask
number
for
2,
the 2.
the deuce.
There you
I knew
go.
what the 2 was, but I just wanted to get rid of it, shorten it up. It'll come back. Don't worry. Had a
Still
really
gro-
bad.
It's still growing back for
I
you.
still got a really bad haircut last time that needed
I just
to be.
wish I had options.
Alex and Raleigh, Fred, I don't know what happened on vacation, but you not wanting to get into an argument with Paul is just un-American.
It's very
Fight the
disconcerting.
man, give him what he wants. No, but we've had the discussion before, so it wasn't. I didn't want
It's
to.
quite disconcerting.
Don't be
It took me
Canadian.
aback.
Onto the team. This team needs to protect Drake and give him weapons. While our defense was abysmal beyond what I pictured happening, I do think they broke under the pressure of having to play perfect while the offense did very little to help. I understand getting the best player available on any side of the ball. I just feel like I haven't seen a good offense in so long on the Patriots since Brady left. And yes, Paul, Brady is the main factor in all of it. I agree.
Yeah.
I think
agree.
the defense was as bad as the offense. I wouldn't blame the offense for the defense.
This past year, I'd agree with that. but I do think there's a path to a lot of the individual players having bounce back years. Like, I don't think Kyle Duggar will be as bad as he was at times last year. You would like to hope that you have some guys like Bentley, Peppers, Barmore, like maybe those guys are available.
Sure.
But yeah,
That's possible.
The team that they put on the field last year was just
as bad as the offense.
Absolutely.
Can I ask you guys a timing question? Like, if they were going to start jettisoning some of these guys, or moving on from contracts, like when would that start to happen? Would that be now, or would they wait till free agency? Like, I don't know. When do you think they would start cleaning house if they were starting to get rid of some of these guys, trim the fat?
Yeah, probably next month.
Like, you get maybe at the combine, you put some feelers out
think
to see
there's
if
no
there's
rush.
See who's available.
Interest.
See what is in your in your future and when your plans.
Yeah.
And then the league year starts usually around what, the 12th,
It's the
13th,
10th. Was the legal tampering period.
Yeah, but when you have to actually be compliant is
I think it's the 10th and the 12th.
okay. So if you have any moves like that you need to move, you can have your cap casualties and move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Be
I'm
curious.
not overly surprised that we haven't seen much.
No, I know. I mean, I'm not surprised, but I'm curious. I'm just curious what they're gonna do. And it's they really haven't done much. I mean, just the Jeremiah Farms of it all.
I go by the Bill Belichick philosophy of don't make a decision until you have to.
Yeah.
Like see what happens.
But what if you want to?
Then
to send a
if
message.
it's the right time, you do it.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you decided that Mike Dussault is not in our plans, regardless, under any situation. So just
Well, sometimes you
release
do
it.
that, like for a veteran, just to give him an early start on things. It's a courtesy. But if you don't have to make a decision on a player right away, why do it?
Yeah,
like
I
maybe,
wouldn't suggest them making a decision on someone that they're not sure about.
Yeah.
I'm saying if they're sure.
But if they
But
what about?
But
like,
I haven't seen a lot of activity around the league. I don't think that's common at this time
but,
of year.
But what about okay, so we know we're going to get rid of player A, but maybe another team would be interested in him and having him on our roster
Right. And
doesn't
that's
hurt
what you're
us.
seeing around the league.
Yeah.
Right.
Debo, Myles Garrett,
Right.
Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe to a lesser
Get
extent, my
something for
dream
him.
of Micah
Yeah.
Parsons.
Still a dream.
Was one other piece of news we didn't
That's why I
talk
called
about
it a
was
dream.
Nick Caley being hired by Houston, which I think is an interesting. It'll be an interesting comp with Josh and Drake and Nick Caley as a new OC. With Stroud down there, be interesting to see how that goes.
Okay. See if we're one that got away.
Yeah, if he's really got the juice. I mean, they seem very high on him.
If it was luck that he turned them down last year.
Yeah.
Or misfortune.
Right. Travis in West Virginia.
I tend to look at
I have a
things as
question
positive.
mostly for Paul. I don't disagree with you, but if the 2004 Patriots were the best Patriots team ever, and Donovan McNabb was a stiff, as you call him, then why was the final score so close? Why the Patriots never blew anybody out in the Super Bowls has always been a mystery to me.
Yeah, I think they kind of low-key won that.
I never felt like
Evan
yeah.
says that he never had any fear of losing the game against
I
France.
was just about to say it.
I never had any fear of losing.
That's
I
exactly
had
how I
fear
felt.
going to Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game, and I know what the score ended up being, but that game to me was the Super Bowl. I never had any fear. I thought the Patriots did not play particularly well in the first half of that game. In the second half, they asserted their dominance. They got a 10-point lead with whatever it was, 3 minutes left.
Yep.
Yeah.
Eagles got an oh-by-the-way touchdown at the end.
It's a perfect comparison. It's exactly how I felt.
I never felt that game was in doubt.
Yeah. I didn't feel fear myself. Yeah.
You were at that one, Fred?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh.
Come on, dude.
I wasn't.
Oh. Right. That was the one Paul didn't get to go to.
The only other Patriots team that I think is
Must
in
have
the
been hard.
running
He was
is
just having a kid. That's
Based
all.
on what happened, it sounds like I lucked out.
the 2014 team. I feel like is always
14 team is in the conversation. Yes.
for like my. I was pretty young for the first part of the dynasty, so like that was at the point where I actually knew what I was watching when I was watching football, and the 14 team I would say is like our favorite out of like that
Me too.
generation of Patriots.
To be honest, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I was like a Patriots fan for the first three, it was like I was super invested starting 2006 in every game and every twist and turn, and every playoff loss just was an absolute dagger in my heart. And that's why 14 to me is always
That's how Fred
really
felt about the
special.
76 team.
Yeah. What, the Jets? On the Patriots.
Good, Mike.
Oh.
I just remember when they do when you watch the 14 Super Bowl back, which I've done probably 1,000 times, and they do the intros of offense, defense, and they're doing the Patriots intros, and it's like every player is it's Brady, it's Gronk, it's Edelman, it's like even the offensive line is loaded, and you're just like, man, this team just had no holes. They were loaded everywhere. Then they're Malcolm Butler's like a 5th string corner. It's just they had depth on defense like crazy. That team was really good.
Yep. I mean, Darrelle Revis comes here for 1 year and wins a championship.
Yeah.
Okay, that worked.
Yeah.
Always have that on the Jets.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, more calls and emails here on Patriots Unfiltered.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon. Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
It's time for another episode of Pats from the Past podcast. Matt Smith along with Paul Perillo. Pleased to be joined by number 28. Can you believe that? Number 28. It is great to see Corey Dillon here. Corey, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me.
You start the 05 season looking, to win 3 in a row for a three-peat. Obviously, hasn't been done.
Yeah.
Kansas City's going to try to do it this year.
It ain't going to happen.
Why?
Why?
Because it's never happened. It's never happened. I don't. Everybody's shooting for you.
Did you get that? Did you get a sense that you were getting everybody's best shot?
Absolutely. I think the 04, we were getting everybody's best shot. Honestly, everybody's best shot. And I think the consensus around the league and to most, like, you know what? We're tired of seeing them win anyway. So I'm pretty sure teams are gearing up. They're gonna give Kansas City all they can handle. I don't see them three-peating at all.
Where did you see the pressures besides getting everybody's best shot? 2004 was magical.
Right.
Nothing went wrong that year.
Right.
And so you can't just roll the balls back out again.
Right.
In 05. You got to, like Bill used to say, it's a new year. You got to put in the work and everything like that. Where did you see that things went wrong in 05?
I mean, there was a lot of injuries. I mean, I missed games that year. So, yeah, I mean, you gotta have some luck to completing the mission of winning a Super Bowl, man. And number one, staying healthy is key. I wasn't healthy. A lot of other players that were down, so we kind of struggled that year. We still made it to the playoffs. I think we went up to Denver. We lost to Denver.
Yep. Should have beat Denver that game.
Which I thought we had that. We would have seen Pittsburgh again, and oh, what a feeling. That would have been another good one. And I think, I don't know. I think Pittsburgh, did they win it that year?
Yes.
Honestly, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, damn, I could have two
Yeah.
two rings, man. To be honest with you, yeah.
So just from afar, I would say you guys look like you're a little out of gas.
That too.
In Denver, tough place to play.
No question.
Mile high, and I think all the sort of attrition of the long playoff runs.
Yeah.
I think caught up to you, but you want to say you could have had two. Let's fast forward to 06, and you got a 21-3 lead late in the second quarter of the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, man, could have.
I think we might have ruined it for him.
Yeah. That was a different year, though, Corey. They drafted a back in the first round.
Yeah,
what's your thinking when you saw that happen?
Nothing. Like, okay. I mean, you still got to come in here and play. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just because you were drafted doesn't mean anything. A great player told me this: it doesn't matter what round you're drafted. It matters what you do when you get here. That's the great boomer of science. And so you got to still come in here and play. And then at the end of the day, what's the worst thing that happen? Somebody get cut. I mean, I'm not getting cut, so I'm not worried about that aspect of it. So what it boiled down to was, and you know what? Hey, we're gonna mix it up. We split carries, and that's fine with me. I never griped about that whatsoever. I kind of thought of it as, hell, I need a break too sometimes.
Maybe this could prolong your career.
That part as well.
Yeah.
That part as well. I never took it as a negative. So, and then on top of that, man, we embrace guys that's coming in here that can help you win. Who doesn't want that? So I never looked at it in a negative light. I looked at it as another teammate here to help us win. And like you said, man, we get up there to Indy, man, and I'm thinking, man, we're going back. And then I don't know what happened, man.
Manning happened.
Yeah.
Manning happened.
That big head fella went to work.
Yeah.
And pulled a number on us, man.
Yeah,
So
and I didn't mean to gloss over one of the more underrated playoff victories of the Dynasty, and that's the week before in San Diego.
Oh, man. I think LaDainian's still mad about that one.
I don't blame him.
Man.
No
So
question.
That was a really good team.
we
you
weren't
guys
supposed
beat.
to win that game.
Nope.
At all. And I think they were the favorites to win it all.
They were 14-2.
Yeah. So, and actually going up to San Diego and playing one hell of a team, man. That team was good on defense, good on offense, and we were in a slugfest all four quarters, and to actually go up there and come out with the win was special. That was a good win for us.
Corey, I don't want to trivialize it because I think when you say that you're a part of a trivia question, it trivializes the accomplishment.
Right.
But Paul had mentioned this earlier. I don't know how many Patriot fans right off the top of their head go, oh, single season rushing record, Corey Dillon, 1,600 yards. That's a hell of an accomplishment and one you must be very proud of to see that record still stand today. I'm
proud, man. I'm just proud to be a part of the history here, man. That's what I'm proud of. I always got the attitude of records are meant to be broken, which they are. Some young stud will come along in here and eclipse that. But you know what? I'm gonna cherish it since I got it now. So it was great, man. It's a reflection on that year, who I played with, the people who was around, the organization, and to cap that great season of rushing off with a Super Bowl, man. That's everything. That's something I never forget. Never forget.
Yeah, as 06, obviously a very disappointing, we just talked about it, very disappointing end. Did you sort of have an idea in your mind of what the future was going to hold for you? Yeah, man. I just had enough, I think, at that point. Like
injuries are starting to pile up.
Yeah, I'm getting older. I was like 32, man. I was in my early 30s, I mean. And I'm thinking, man, I already gave so much to this game. I mean, and in my mind, what more can I do? Or what more do I want to do? And at that time, some of the older guys that hang around, catch bad injuries, Yeah. So, and the style of football I like to play, that was coming. So, I just thought to myself, like, man, this might be the best time to shut it down and go figure out something else to do with your life.
Which is what? What are you up to these days? I think fans would want to know.
Man, I'm trying to fix this hook I got in golf with the driver. Hey, I get a hold of it. I mean, for the most part, I'm putting it out there 300 plus. But sometimes I have these snap hooks. So that's the thing on my agenda lately is fixing that hook. Yeah. And then other than that, man, I'm just living the easy life, man, and just get my kids through school and things like that. Just a normal life.
That's the way it should be, man.
Yeah.
That's the way it should.
And now, great moments in history.
I was told that I said carry on wrong. I said carry on. It's carry on.
Like one word?
Oh,
no,
like on a plane.
Like the bag. It's a carry on
Not
bag.
Winston Churchill.
Not carry on.
Keep calm and carry on.
It's the accent.
Do the read before we get in trouble.
Okay. Only liquids allowed. Blood, sweat, and tears. Catch Carry On. December 13th. Only on Netflix.
Okay, you know these things intrigue me.
Yeah.
So, a carry-on that you would carry on to an airplane is pronounced differently than carry on.
Yeah. Carry on. So,
like carry
Paul,
on.
Right,
Paul,
I love this.
proceed.
Yeah,
carry on.
Paul,
I carry on my bag.
Are you going to bring
Like,
your carry-on?
I
This
feel
is
like
my carry-on.
I feel. Thank you.
No,
I feel like
but,
I'm
but,
saying
but
these
what,
two things
but
the same.
what you just said was
Am I
was
wrong?
But Paul, you just said that's not. You didn't use it as a noun. You used it as a verb. You said I carry on my bag.
No.
That's not what it is.
No,
it's a carry-on
my,
bag.
It's my carry-on. No, it's not my carry-on. It's my carry-on.
My carry-on bag.
My carry-on bag.
Yeah. But when
Again,
you say
I'm saying it the
but when
same
you say
way.
carry on, you
I'm
say
not changing the way I
carry
say
on.
it.
Carry on.
Carry on.
Carry
You
on
don't-
the conversation. It's my carry-on bag.
you-
I'm saying it the exact
No,
same. I'm
you
not
don't.
putting any
No,
emphasis
no.
on any
You
difference.
stress the
No.
carry or the on.
Paul,
carry
it's
on.
different.
Carry on.
Listen,
Carry
listen. Carry on.
Carry on.
You put the emphasis on when
Right.
it's a verb.
Yeah, on.
Okay.
On.
I don't, but
You
if
do.
if
You just
do-
don't. You want to admit it, but you do.
I'm.
You're just being
I
stubborn.
started the whole thing by
and
saying
you've got
I'm
that
in-
hood.
I'm
You've got
intrigued.
that hood shirt on.
And that's why it's
so
getting
you're
under your
really
skin.
being stubborn.
That's why it's getting under your skin.
That's another great moment from
All right, back here on
Did you
Patriots
see
Unfiltered.
Carry On?
I did not see it.
Carry On.
We watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not great.
No,
Not great.
not great.
Yeah, it was worth a watch.
Speaking of not great, I watched that Saturday Night Live special.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, not great.
Nah.
No.
Not really funny.
No.
You're talking about the Sunday night
Yeah,
one,
the 2.5
right?
hour.
I heard,
2.5 hour. one.
I've heard
Yep.
that the music one that I think was on Friday night
I haven't
was
seen that.
excellent. Now it's not really for me,
Yeah.
but if you're a music fan, like a live music kind of fan, like
Yeah.
I heard it was
Matt
outstanding.
Smith.
Matt
Yeah.
Smith thought it was ridiculous, but Matt's a huge live music fan.
Yeah.
You
Huge.
can't understate it.
Particularly if he gets to watch it outdoors.
So it wasn't like recapping all the best performances in the past.
There
was
is
it?
one of those. That's what I was going to ask Paul, because I think there was a concert,
I
and I'm
didn't
not
see
sure
it.
if there's an actual
Oh,
video of
okay.
the concert, but then there's also a special that I watched that was great, Fred, that was about the history of the music on Saturday Night Live, and it was really
Yeah.
well done. I really enjoyed that one.
Because the great thing about Saturday Night Live was, well, I don't know if it was great, depending on your taste, but the way it started, it was always bands you never heard of in the early days. It was never top line bands. It was like they had B-52s before anybody knew who B-52s was.
Rock Lobster.
You know?
Bow, bow, bow,
Um,
bow, 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 bow.
And then I think as it in the later years they had more headline
Yeah.
acts, but it was always like obscure bands that were just starting out.
They still introduced me to a couple bands, I would say. Like, I mean, they have, I think now they get hot artists and,
Yeah.
people that are breaking right down.
I would say, now that's like in the moment
Yeah.
right now. Like,
Yeah,
they'll get like Sabrina Carpenter, like
Yeah.
as she's on the
Shabuzi.
right? Shabuzi.
Like wasn't White Stripes
Yep.
on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah.
When they were still starting out.
Yep.
They were just blue stripes. at the
Oh,
time?
jeez. You're working blue again, Paul.
But the I had high expectations because I used to love Saturday Night Live, but they overthought it.
Yeah.
And
So I think they had
the characters they decided to bring back and do in the moment skits and not like Debbie Downer, really? We're going to bring her back?
There was too many. I think it was hard because
Yeah.
there was too many people that you had
Yeah.
to
Right.
try to incorporate.
Yeah.
I could have. I think it would have just been fine if they just went with cast members.
Yeah.
But I agree. It wasn't. Like, I didn't watch all of it on Sunday night. I kept putting it on, and
Yeah.
The Eddie Murphy thing I thought was hilarious when he did Tracy Morgan.
That was good. But they screwed that segment up. They veered away from the actual spirit of the segment, and they got into, I forget how they ended it up, but if they just stuck to how that segment was, it would have been great. Because I agree, Eddie Murphy did an unbelievable
he did a
Tracy
great
Morgan.
Tracy Morgan.
And meanwhile, Tracy Morgan's right next
sitting
to him.
right there.
Yeah.
And I do think that's an underrated. I don't know if you ever watch it. Sometimes I go down these YouTube rabbit holes and I find these various
Northeastern
things.
games from the 70s.
Well, that's generally how I start.
You
know.
can hear it from the other room. Like,
You watch some. You grind some Phil Paul. No, it's a
You watch a lot
women's
of Billy,
volleyball from
lot of-
Northeastern
A lot of Billy
1972.
Jaffe breaking down Adam Gaudette's hat trick in the 18, Beanpot final.
Oh, look at that
magic, of course.
What was I doing? Celebrities impersonating other celebrities.
Oh yeah.
There's some real and like that. Eddie Murphy's Tracy
Oh, it was
Morgan
great.
was next level.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah.
And there's some of those Saturday Night, like Kate McKinnon does
She's
some
great.
really good ones. You can get some funny stuff out of that, but just not.
I think Kate McKinnon's overrated.
There weren't enough of those.
Oh.
I like Kate McKinnon.
I like Kate McKinnon.
Overrated.
I like we got Sally O'Malley out for the 50th. You know, she kicks. I kick. I stretch. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Just a touch. I agree, though. I think they brought so many people back, and everyone. I remember. I think Tina Fey was like, "I'm a writer this week," so you know that there were so many writers coming back and a lot of egos, and it's
Yeah.
just, you're probably
But
going to get something.
Some of the
generic.
best parts of Saturday Night Live were the commercial takeoffs.
Oh yeah.
And the way they handled that was to give you like 3 or 4 seconds of the best ones, so it was like a quick montage. They didn't do any new ones. You know,
I was a little disappointed with the Sandberg Lonely Island digital short they did. That wasn't very. It was like
with the anxiety thing, yeah,
That was bad.
It was, it wasn't.
That
good.
was flat out bad.
And some of the song and dance numbers, why do they have to do those?
Yeah.
Like the wedding one.
Oh, Domingo.
And, yeah, it was just not funny. Not funny.
Yeah.
I
You didn't watch
want to
it at all.
laugh.
Yeah.
Be funny.
Not my thing.
I want to laugh. Make me laugh.
Well, some of the funniest
Boy,
people are
make
dead,
me laugh.
So, you can't do anything about that.
I'm not a big
How did you see though Bill Murray coming back doing the top 10 list for the top? That was
That was good.
A pretty
That was
fun
good.
little sketch. He's kind of funny.
I
He's got a
didn't-
good delivery.
Yeah, I thought that was good, but not great. That was that, but I liked that. I
Yeah.
liked that they did that.
When they did the montage of the physical comedy, I laughed at that, like seeing Chris Farley smash
Oh,
through.
yeah.
That made me laugh.
Yeah.
Even though it was again a montage of people falling all over the place.
So, what do you think happens when Lorne Michaels goes away? I mean, it's just crazy that he's been running this show for 50 years. I mean, it's kind of like you, Fred. I mean,
Well,
what's
it's
going to
that
be
the weird
without-
the weird year. The weird season.
But one
right?
year he
When
went away
when
for a little bit
left.
and then came back. But I mean, he's just been such an institution in that place. I can't imagine it's ever going to be the same.
A lot of people thought their best moment was the Adam Sandler song. I don't know if you caught that.
I don't think I
don't
got
think
through
I
that
saw- I
part.
It
don't
was
think I
really
saw
good.
it.
It was really
So
good.
he performed an original song.
Yeah, an original song about Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
Teared up during it.
Yeah.
Sandman.
Yeah, he was good. That
I haven't seen that. Surprised
No.
it didn't
I
make,
know,
make
It
it
was
to
on-
my
it's on-
Twitter feed.
It's on the
It's like 3 hours
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. No, but I'm surprised. Like the Eddie Murphy thing, I didn't see live.
Yeah.
I saw it on the Twitter machine.
We do what we usually do. We watch through the news and then kind of.
Well, that's what they made a joke about that. They had a fake commercial about stuff that put you to sleep. Nothing puts you to sleep more than the skit after the news on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Which is true, right? You start falling asleep after the news.
Okay.
It's cool though. My kids have kind of developed a little bit of appreciation for SNL. And like I used to VCR tape it. Like that was what I think I learned to use my VCR like to time it. You know, when you had to like, all right, on at 11:25 and then out at like 1:05 and get up and watch it. So it's now it's crazy. It's been around this long. Love it.
All right. Dan in Lynchburg has issue with Evan. He
Uh-oh.
says, Evan, I've heard you comment a few times recently about Tyler Warren's age and how he'll be old for a rookie. According to Wikipedia, he's 22 years old, won't turn 23 until after the draft, which is pretty average for a standard graduating senior. Am I missing something?
I believe he's going to be a 24-year-old rookie. This is why he should.
So Wikipedia is incorrect. So you need to go in.
But regardless, yeah, he's not ancient. Like he's not.
You
Brandon
were
Whedon.
being hyperbolic
Maybe a
Jaden
little
Daniels
bit.
when you talked about 10 years in college.
Oh yeah, he just because I feel like he's just been on
like
the
Jaden
radar
Daniels.
for a long
Yeah.
time. He's not 30, but he's gonna be like a 23 or 24-year-old rookie, and you just we don't have to go down the whole age thing, but it's just usually at that point you're capped, like you're at the point of this is who you're gonna sort of be as an
See,
athlete.
and that's part of like when people talk about age, I think the perception from fans is, well, what's the big deal? He's still going to be 10, 12 years in the league. Wouldn't you want that? That's not necessarily what the fear about the age is the development. Like, how much better can he get?
Yeah.
And to Evan's point, I think a lot of scouts would look at a guy that's 24 and say, okay. Now, Jaden Daniels, again, pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
I would just argue that
You know.
Jaden Daniels didn't get better. He was just always really darn good. I think I agree with Paul. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions is people think it's about career longevity and like how many contracts. It's really more about the fact that the younger breakout guys tend to be like the great athletes, right? Like, Jamar Chase, Christian Gonzalez was a young breakout guy. Drake was a young breakout guy. Like those guys tend to be the ones that have truly special athleticism. Travis Hunter, like if you wait
LeBron James.
if you wait till you're fifth year senior and now all of a sudden you look like a man amongst boys, well, you kind of are a man amongst boys.
Dan also says, I'm all about sticking at number 4 and taking Will Campbell, regardless of his arm length. But if we trade down a few spots, I think Warren might be a great fit for the Patriots offense. I think a good tight end is a good fit for any offense.
Yeah.
Joel in Ottawa, I'm bracing myself for a free agent letdown. I think they'll be active, but it's going to be middle-class heavy. I do believe the money is going to be spent in the trenches and not the skilled positions. My belief is Drake is good enough to make a wide receiver better with more time spent in the pocket, and therefore money on Higgins or Godwin wouldn't be well spent. Well,
I mean, it's a balance. I definitely default more towards finding guys that are going to be a part of this, but I also think that you need an injection of a little bit of leadership, a little bit of, outside presence, not guys who are going to preach how we did things when the Patriot way was here, but guys who know how to go about their business and guys who can set a tone. And I think that's a part of the appeal for me with some of these veteran wide receivers like a Godwin. Just get that room in order, start to establish a little bit of consistency there and leadership, and hopefully you also bring in another rookie. I would say I'm all for continuing day true rookies with wide receivers. Keep bringing those guys in, and you're not gonna be able to get T. Higgins probably. It's just you got to just try to keep stacking guys at that wide receiver position and hope somebody breaks out at some point.
It's a chicken or the egg thing too. Like obviously they need better line play. They need better protection. You can't go into a season without tackles again. But if you don't have anybody to throw to, no line is just going to give you limitless options.
Yeah.
The Chiefs had 3 All-Pros, right? But they don't have anybody that can get open. And Mahomes ended up getting killed. So it was, the line play was bad, and the Eagles' defensive line dominated, but the Eagles' secondary also dominated. They blanketed their very average group of receivers until the game was over and Worthy made a bunch of catches in the second half. But he didn't have any impact on the game. Yeah, I think he had like 7 for 100 and whatever, but it was meaningless. It was all garbage time.
Yeah.
Like you need both.
The Patriots' current wide receiver room, I guess maybe I do hear that a decent amount that like their receivers would be okay. I kind of just disagree. Like I really just don't like any of their receivers really outside of Pop Douglas maybe in like a special certain type of role that you have him in. But even him, like I worry about volume and durability and like could he be really get targeted 125
Can he
times?
be a Josh slot receiver?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, really, when you look at the depth chart, I just where's like the reliability? Where's like the consistency for many of those guys? Even though they flash, like Kayshon Boutte had moments last year, but a good team's not relying on a guy like Kayshon Boutte.
Yeah. Is Polk redeemable? New offensive staff.
I was
fresh start.
Some footage of him came out over the last week of him training. He's got a big old arm brace on that he's working out with, but I think that was an injury suffered towards the end of the last couple games, right? Like the end of maybe the second to last game of the season, I think. So he's, a little bit in recovery as well. I don't know what to expect from him.
So I would say, yes, he's redeemable. I think he's going to be with a second-year Drake May, which will help him. And they should have better protection and all that stuff. But do you look and watch him and say, okay, this is a high-end receiver?
No.
Do you think the skills,
no.
I know he had a bad year. I'm trying to eliminate his performance
But
last
how
year.
can I do that? How can I?
But go back to what you
I can
saw
only
in training camp when he was catching 1 million passes. Did you see high-end ability? I didn't.
No, but I didn't see him.
But he can be better than he was during the regular
in
season.
camp,
he could be a piece.
In camp he did what he was asked to do, and so. I don't know if he had the opportunity to show us high-end ability.
Okay, but I would say, and I've been critical of Demario Douglas as well, right?
Yeah.
Because of the things that Evan just said. I don't know about him being a high-volume kind of guy. I did see high-end ability at times in practice when he's cutting across the field and all of a sudden turning the corner for 30 yards and no one's catching, no one's near him. I didn't see that with Jalen Polk.
Yeah.
I don't see the same, now they're different kinds of players, I get that, but I don't see the same explosiveness, the same athlete.
Yeah. That one thing you could say, wow.
Yes, I would say that Polk figures to get better with Josh McDaniels and with a second-year Drake May, but how much better will he be? I don't know what his ceiling. I don't know that his ceiling is very high.
I don't think it was very high coming out.
You guys were both very lukewarm on the pick that the day it happened.
Because I feel like we're kindred spirits when it comes to wide receivers.
I think we do kind of like the same kinds of receivers.
I want guys that can run by people.
Yeah,
I don't
want playmakers.
I don't really have very much interest in the 9-yard per catch guy, right? It's cool to move the chains and you need that guy, but I want that guy on third down. But
you just
I don't
need
need
such
that guy
perfection
the
out of the quarterback position to operate like that.
Yeah,
and that's what you had for 20 years.
Luther.
It's one of the great questions I got going into
good
OTA's camp. It's just what does Josh think of these receivers? How does Josh see these guys fitting into everything? I haven't totally ruled out Polk. I hear everything Paul's saying. I still think that he could be a physical, reliable, strong-handed number 3. That kind of guy that can come in and make some catches for you, especially if he's got 2 guys with some dynamic ability to move. One guy you can move around and another guy with some speed on the outside, and then it maybe gets a little easier for Jalen Polk. What worries me about him was just he looked so lost last year. Is that going to get better with a Josh McDaniels offense? We'll see.
Yeah. Couple the lack of explosiveness in my view, not fact, my view, with what looked to be sort of a shaky mental aspect of the game.
Yeah.
I would say
the whole room really. That's
out.
why it's hard to single him out because I think the whole room had mental brain fart issues
it was a bad room.
throughout the season.
Yeah.
And your favorite Kendrick Bourne, Mike.
Yeah, my guy.
I just wonder, is Josh, are we still going to be doing the Edelman Welker slot and are we still doing all, which is fine, if we are, but that's a very specific type of player that you have to go out and target, and they exist in this draft.
Your guy from Miami, Restrepo.
I comped him to Danny Amendola. I think he's a clone of those types of guys, but that's not the big play down the field.
It's not what I want.
Right. That's we're going to run the little juke route and we're going to get open over the middle and we're going to hit him. So is that still the archetype for Josh McDaniels in the middle of the field and the slot receivers and the tight ends? Or in Vegas they did try to pivot Devontae Adams, and have a little bit more of an outside
still
presence.
Hunter Renfrow a little bit though.
And then Jacoby, obviously Myers, goes there to be the same kind of guy. So I just wonder with that aspect of what type of receiver would they even be looking at in that respect? Because I do think Polk has a little bit of Jacoby Myers to his game, but
I agree.
I don't know if he's got the mental makeup that Jacoby did.
All right, 855-PATS-500 is the TPX hotline. Let's go to Brad in Ohio. What's up, Brad?
Hey, fellas. How you doing this afternoon?
Okay.
Good. I got a few quick insights real quick for you. I agree with Evan about Colston, or not Colston. I want Colston Loveland. So if we move back in the draft, I'm a Michigan fan, so, I'm not trying to be biased, but I want Colston Loveland because he's younger, too, if I'm not mistaken. I think Evan knows that. And that would be moved back to 12 and 15. But I'm not outside the realms of drafting Mason Graham either, for these reasons. He's an A-plus pass rusher, A-plus block shedder, especially if somebody's trying to block you one-on-one. Good luck with that. And his stamina. Evans kind of may be right with that in double teams. I kind of, gravitate towards what Evans said with that. But he is an A-plus effort guy, and he runs down plays from the back. So that's what the one thing I wanted to say. Certainly, if we move back, I'd love to see Colston Loveland. I think he'd be an outstanding fit. I don't know where Donovan. I think Alex Bard once in a call a couple weeks ago said that Donovan Edwards is 7th-round draft pick. We can't let him slip that long. Not in a Patriots uniform. We need to get him in the 5th round, 4th round, something. And then Kenneth Grant, if we move back, another defensive lineman, or Luther Burden, or if we move back, if we can move back up to grab those guys, and then a linebacker from Iowa, Higgins. Don't know what round he's gone in. He's going to be outstanding. Khalil Malling, more of a blocking type running back, might fit.
Okay.
And then the Henderson guy, where is he going to be drafted?
Wow.
The running back
from Ohio State. Probably like him and Judkins are probably both going to be day 2 picks. And then Josiah Stewart. Can we get him with the 3rd pick or last 3rd pick in that?
Everett High School.
Really?
Good to know.
Right?
I don't know.
So that's the guy I'm thinking about, right?
Well, Sanders still was an Everett.
No. There was another guy at Michigan that was.
Josiah Stewart?
No.
One of my guys.
Thanks,
Paul.
Brad. Appreciate the call.
Brad's a ball knower, as you can tell.
Certainly a draft.
The only thing is he left one out. With there's a big time corner, right? Is it Will Johnson?
Will Johnson, yeah.
No love for Will Johnson. Every other Michigan guy we had to get.
I cut him off a little bit. He probably would have got there. He was naming everybody.
Yeah, Will Johnson's got like some comps that are crazy, like Patrick Surtain. Like this guy's going to be a stud. Other people are lower on him, but he mentioned a couple of guys. I just watched Kenneth Grant yesterday, the nose tackle from Michigan. More of like a 4-3 nose tackle, one shade, whatever. But he's a good player. He's strong. Just really strong upper body. Not going to be moved. And Josiah Stewart's one of my Senior Bowl guys. Like he's somebody that I thought popped in Mobile, but he's really, really undersized. He's like 6'1", 240, 245 pounds.
He's the Everett guy.
So he's good to know. I'm going to have to ask him about that.
Did you ever visit the Baseball Hall of Fame?
He's an undersized pass rusher.
I'm not in that Hall of Fame.
Wow.
I'm
Why
in
not?
the BU Hall of Fame.
How do you get to the BU Hall of Fame and Everett overlooks you?
Interesting.
Did you get snubbed? In Everett? Did you get snubbed?
No.
It's a good question.
They didn't discover his pitching
I'm
talents.
a small Hall
until
guy. I didn't
later.
belong. I wasn't good enough.
Well, now you know. And at the
He took
combine
himself out of the
next week,
running.
I wasn't good enough.
Everett, they got guys that are 24 in high school. So,
What?
Yeah.
Huh?
You have a lot of old guys in Everett.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
big time recruits coming. Well, now they don't have the same talent. But these kids like Lewis Seen and Sanders Still, and these guys were big time recruits. They were not overage kids when they went to college. These were blue chippers.
Both good players.
Yeah.
So is Josiah Stewart.
And Isaiah Likely was also on that
Whoa.
team.
Oh, wow. If you want a guy off the edge and that just is going to be a menace on 3rd downs, then that's Josiah Stewart. But if you want to stop the run, then that's not for you. But he's kind of Joshua Uche-ish, like that type of player. Maybe a little bit more explosive.
Andrew's in Marlboro. What's up, Andrew?
Hi. So,
Hi.
First time, long time. How are you?
Good.
So, I'm calling actually to plug a charity event that's going on right now. A sports YouTuber called Tom Grossi is live streaming as we speak. He started last Sunday, and he's trying to raise $1 million for the Fallen Patriots charity. It's a charity that sends kids to college who had parents who died while serving in the military. So, I was hoping to get the word out and kind of spread the news that that's going on right now.
Okay. That's on YouTube. Fallen Patriots.
Yeah, the guy's name is Tom Grossi. He was he stopped by Gillette like 2 years ago raising money for St. Jude's. So he's been doing a lot of raising money for charity.
I think I remember.
Big event is Fallen Patriots.
Great. All right. Thanks
Obviously a great cause.
Thanks for the shout out. Thanks, Andrew. When he said fall, I thought he meant like ex-Patriots players.
Right.
But
I thought he was just plugging someone's
that's a good cause too.
YouTube channel, but that's obviously a good cause.
Patty's in Agawam. Hey, Patty.
What's going on, Jen?
Hey.
Hey, yo.
So I just had a quick question about Jalen Polk. We saw how in college, when he was the third fiddle, he could play. You know, he put up good numbers, and he actually looked like a viable player. So my question is, let's say we get, and this is just one of scenarios, let's say we get Godwin, and, sorry for the noise, and we draft McMillan or somebody like Jaden Higgins to be our ex-outside guy. Do you think we can kind of salvage his career, or do you think he's so in his head from this past year that there's no salvaging his career? Because we know how if guys don't produce good in the first year, they generally don't produce at all. Take it off air, guys. Bye.
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, I think if
we just kind of went over that.
I think he's getting a fresh chance a little bit with Josh coming back. But, I mean,
Yeah.
that could go one of two ways. I mean, it could be Josh isn't really interested in him, and he
Yeah.
can't pick up Josh. Or it could.
How much of an indicator will be spring practices and where guys are lined up and how Josh is using them, even though they're in shorts? And like, will that give us any indication of the research that he's done and the opinion that he has going in on some of these guys?
Well, I mean, I'd wonder if Polk's going to be healthy, ready to go, at least specifically to him. But, of course, we'll overanalyze all that stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
and I also would like to see what kind of moves they make. You know, in Patty's scenario, you have Chris Godwin, or sort of a similar veteran free agent, in addition to, a fairly significant draft pick wide receiver.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
if
the
you have
slowest
those two
offense of
guys,
all time.
in the mix, say in May, and you have Polk with them, I would say that's significant.
Yeah.
Now, if Polk is just out there and you didn't add those two guys, I don't think that's as significant. It's like, well, Polk was out there. I think he might have started the first game of the year. You know.
Yeah.
Like, what significance do we take from that? Well, that's they don't have much.
Yeah.
It's Douglas. It's a little bit of Booty sometimes. See what I did there?
Little Booty.
And then, your guy Bourne when he's lined up properly. And,
Getting to the sticks.
and Polk.
I think that's a big. I'm not putting any eggs in the Jalen Polk basket. Like I
He's
just
going to
think-
have to show me something first.
I just think it's a big leap for
Well-
him to go from last year to all of a sudden being, I think if he had a 500-yard, season next year, that I would be
Right.
wowed by that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, like
great
that would be
progress.
Right.
Well, Jeremiah writes in. He says, "I don't know if you watched Steve Smith's report card video on Polk, but it seemed really insightful. He pointed out a bunch of Polk struggles stem from the team situation and the coaching from Van Pelt and Underwood. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it and would like to know your thoughts if Polk could succeed better under better coaching, or is it more of a skill issue?"
I think it's both. I think he will succeed better with Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
But I don't think that there's this reservoir of ability that's untapped.
That was my point about bringing up the 500-yard thing, was because what's the ceiling? Like, even if it does look better for Jalen Polk, I'm not gonna be fooled to think that he's gonna have a 1,000-yard season in year two. Like, it's still gonna be modest, I would think. And to Deuce's point originally about him, a lot of it was just mental and game instincts and mental toughness.
Didn't
and
look comfortable.
That before we even get to ability, that.
The offensive system was the same for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Did Douglas look better than Polk?
Yes.
Did Booty look better than Polk?
Yes.
So, Booty and Polk, I chose those guys because they're both second-year, sixth-round picks. So it's not like I'm comparing them to Randy Moss in his prime.
Right.
I'm comparing them to guys that he was a second-round pick.
Right.
Theoretically, he should have more ability.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he didn't look like he did.
It's just so jarring. I mean, you guys can probably speak to it more than I can, but I've said before, I've never seen a player just look productive in camp, look like he got it, look like he was just going to be a part of things and be consistently around the ball, maybe make some catches, to going from that to 12 catches and looking like he can't even
For
run.
no specific
comeback,
I would argue Tyquan Thornton looked the same.
Yeah.
In training camp, but then he got hurt. He broke his collarbone in that Panthers preseason game.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was ever really the same his rookie year. Then he kept, showing
get out
the
of it, right.
inconsistencies and
Yeah.
couldn't stay healthy. I think his issues were different. But to your point, Polk was a guy who was on the practice field every day catching a ton of passes.
Yeah.
Nothing really appeared to happen. And all of a sudden he wasn't the same guy when the game started.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I
Don't
do
get
think
that
there's a
foot
little
in
story
bounds.
there with not getting his feet down, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, from that point in that game, it just that's where it really totally unraveled because he was involved. I mean, I think what was the second or third game they targeted him a bunch. Like it seemed like we got to get this guy going, and then it just after that moment had some bad comments afterwards. It just
It
all
did
seemed
feel
to
like
unravel.
the
Sissy
production
was in
was-
bounds, first of all.
The production wasn't good.
Know the rules.
For the whole time, but there were flashes of separation and stuff, and I kept on saying to myself early on, like, no offense
trying
to
to convince
Jacoby
yourself.
Brissett, but like when Drake May
There was
comes
one
in,
deep ball that Jacoby underthrew. It might have been
Yeah.
that game.
Yeah,
might
like,
have been the Miami.
You know,
game.
when they get Drake May in there,
Yeah.
like, is he going to put the ball on him more? And he made a nice move on that route against Miami, a little stick nod up the back of the end zone, and he didn't get his second foot in bounds, and it just completely unraveled for him from there. And I even if you watch the route, like it's a nice little route that he runs to get open, and then he just didn't get the foot in
and in
bounds.
terms of just having confidence that he can sort of be, resurrected, that's probably the biggest thing that stands in the way for me is he had that play happen and he completely went in the tank. Like that, my biggest concern would be, does he have the mental toughness?
100%.
Audrey says, what's going on today, guys? The show's so flat. Very low energy. Are you all tired of winter and shoveling? Paul looks tired and depressed. You do look a little down today. What's going on?
I got things.
You got things going on?
Yeah.
Off-field stuff?
No.
Oh. It's all too serious. It's all too serious. Where are the questions for Fred about his vacation, and why isn't Fred needling Deuce about the semi-disastrous shows last week?
Oh,
wow, is that
Audrey,
true?
What happened when I was gone?
I
Because it
don't
was
know.
not
Audrey-
a semi
Oh, you weren't here
show.
last
I wasn't
week
here
either?
Thursday.
Oh,
No.
what happened?
I don't
Thursday show,
know.
I thought was
I actually we got some compliments, but Audrey's tough on me, so
Tuesday's show I thought was really good.
Yeah.
With as good as they can be with
minus the phones.
as good as they can be without you, Fred.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Right.
we had phone issues.
Tuesday's show was an absolute disaster back here.
Fair enough, but not my fault.
Not
Oh,
from
it
a-
wasn't your guys' fault. It
Not
was
from a content
It
perspective.
was my fault.
It was the
You were
board's
fantastic.
fault.
Well, I don't like to. I was hoping that you guys would be able to, keep things going.
I don't know.
while
You'd
I
have
was
to ask Audrey to expand upon her. That's the first I've heard of.
So what happened on Thursday?
I thought we had a fun
we had
show on
Matisse. We
Thursday.
talked. I mean, we did talk a little Drake and Kendrick Lamar,
I
which
ripped
I
in
was.
Matisse about being a Drake fan, which is
Yeah,
still
but
funny
otherwise
to me.
it was. No, I thought it was fine. It was fine. Went by pretty quick. We'd read a lot of emails, so thank you to everybody that emailed.
Yeah.
No problems with the phones. I don't know. Audrey, expand right back in.
Poor
Okay.
Fred is thinking I can never take another vacation.
Well, yeah, no, I'm worried. Like I need my time off sometimes. Tree Hugger in Oregon writes in, one of my favorite parts of Patriots Unfiltered is hearing Mike's many sonorous mms. Most often heard as he lends his support or affirmation to a cogent point made by a fellow PU member. They are subtle, but once you start listening for them, they are everywhere. A low rumble that provides the sonic foundation of PU's exquisite auditory ambience.
All right.
Maybe Marine Matt can work his editing magic to give us a cut up of a string of these stentorian vibrations. I imagine it might very well resemble that 1993 hit song by the Canadian rock band Crash Test Dummies.
Oh.
Perhaps Deuce could use it as a demo reel to showcase his vocal talents and springboard his nascent musical recording career. One can only hope.
Once there was this boy who.
Remember that one?
It's gonna sound like a scene from Private Parts.
It's so hard.
Dude, get around. Yeah. 90s music, baby.
You don't know the song, do
Crash
you?
Test.
No.
It's very, very deep voice.
It's a deep cut.
Very deep.
Okay.
It's bad.
bad.
Long hair.
Do you notice yourself doing that a lot, Deuce?
I will now, I'm sure. So thanks for pointing it out.
That's not
Yeah.
that's not on your notes from Jerry. That's not.
I know. I'll
that's
just
not
Jerry
a-
on that one.
Brian's in Delaware. What's up, Brian?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Okay.
All right. We need a big change, man. We need a rebuild. I was kind of hurt. You know what I'm saying? We need a good draft pick. I was kind of hurt when the Patriots passed up on Jalen Hurts that time. With the draft pick, and then you had Smith there too, and then you had you had Jones and all those guys. They had Jones, they could have got Smith. I'm like, come on, what are they doing? You know what I'm saying? But got to trust the process. With the draft pick. what Belichick was doing. Trust the deal. Even with the picks that they had, it was Jones. He needed someone to throw to. I'm a huge Alabama fan, by the way. I'm from Alabama, though. Yeah, it hurts me, every day, they couldn't get Hurst. Like, he was sitting right there. I'm like, why they didn't get him, Yeah, but we need a rebuild. We need a rebuild.
Oh, yeah.
I think we need a wide receiver, first. Paying first as a wide receiver. I mean, Odell Beckham, I don't know, how his history is on. Well, I think he was hurt or something like that. He got hurt or something.
He's washed.
And, he's washed. Yeah. I mean, they need a veteran, they need a veteran guy. They should, take a chance on Odell and then, get a good draft pick.
What do you think of Milroe?
I don't know, Milroe, great guy.
Great guy. Can't play, though, right?
Yeah, Jalen.
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien was right.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the call, Brian.
That was a call.
Yeah. A lot of
Does
stream of
anybody know?
consciousness.
Does anybody know who's Smith or Jones?
Assuming he was talking about Devontae Smith and
Yeah.
Mac Jones.
Yeah,
but
Mac Jones.
Okay.
But Devontae Smith went ahead of Mac Jones in that draft, so.
But I thought he was saying like they passed on Hurts. That's why I got confused.
Yeah, so
and
Hurts-
and Smith and Jones were there.
Yeah, correct. There, I was confused.
So I got really confused. But he was talking about
There's a
Devontae
lot of
Smith and
Smiths
Mac
and Jones out there.
I think
too,
the order of he's got the order a little bit messed up, but that's okay.
So I saw a big chart that had the college of the Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Michigan.
Yeah, 7 of them.
Represented.
And they list Hurts as Alabama.
Yeah.
Not Oklahoma.
It's weird.
Yeah, I thought it was weird too.
I would say Alabama, but
I would say where he finished his career.
Where he
but
graduated from, where he got his
he
degree,
played
right?
2 full seasons at Alabama and
No.
originally went to Alabama.
No, I know that, but there's a lot of guys that like you wouldn't say Jaden Daniels, Arizona State.
That's
he finished
fair.
his career at LSU.
Right.
That's fair.
He played 3 years
But
for
he
both.
also- yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
agree.
Joe
Why are they
Burrow.
listing Alabama?
We could give him to Oklahoma.
I just think it was because it was Alabama.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Oklahoma is no slouch.
Yeah,
bro.
but it ain't Saban. It ain't the Saban machine.
No, I know, but like
You got to give Saban credit for another one.
to be accurate, you would
Kind of like Bill.
you would list both, I guess. Do Alabama / Oklahoma.
True. He was he
And
got
if
better
you can't
at
do that, then
Oklahoma.
you'd list where he graduated from or his last school.
I would go by where he finished.
Yeah.
He was
like
more
Baker
successful
Mayfield.
at Alabama, though.
Didn't he start at like Oklahoma?
Yeah.
He was at Oklahoma.
I mean,
the whole time.
where did he start?
Oklahoma.
No, I think he started somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't know.
You could be right.
I could be wrong on that.
No,
I
you
thought
could be
I thought
right.
he transferred.
You're that.
Everett.
you
I
could
think
be
he
right.
started at Everett.
I don't know.
he's not back. He's not that good.
When I hear Jalen Hurts' name, I do think Alabama.
Yeah.
I think probably because his team was more successful at Alabama.
Yeah.
Whereas he was probably better at Oklahoma, but he was also, it was his last year in college. But yeah, when someone says to me, where did Jalen Hurts go to
Texas
school?
Tech, Baker Mayfield started at.
Alabama.
That's what I thought. Do you think the makers of this chart went through that much discussion and thought when they picked Alabama?
No, I just thought it was
I
odd.
think they just made a mistake.
I think that I'm
Yeah.
with Fred. I
Right.
think they made a mistake.
Right.
Johnny, he went to Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, that's right. Jack in Ann Arbor. Regarding whether Fred is low energy from shoveling snow, Fred is absolutely not low energy from shoveling snow. He's low energy because he uses a snowblower. If Fred shoveled snow the old-fashioned way with a snow shovel,
Come on.
and he wrote shovel, so yeah.
If you shot a shovel
Yeah.
with
So
snow last
He
weekend, God bless
burgundied
you.
it.
Yeah,
He just read what
I read it right.
whatever's on the prompter.
Right. He would be invigorated. I did both.
That was a tough one.
Well, the last one earlier.
Sunday was a tough one if you were shoveling.
Oh yeah, that was a mess.
Yeah, you didn't get as much down your way.
It started pouring rain.
Yeah. But that was heavy.
Oh, it was. We
Even
got
with
like a good 4 inches, and then the
with
water.
the snowblower, it was heavy.
God bless my neighbor. He came and just plowed our driveway for us. I gave him a thank you, shout out. Should have baked him brownies or something. I don't know. It saved my back because I just did the walkway and I was like, every scoop was like
it was heavy.
40 pounds.
But the one before that, was able to get the snowblower out and haven't used it in a couple of years.
Fired right up though.
I've used it the last 2 storms.
Yeah. Need it this
snowblower.
year.
Definitely needed it Sunday.
Yeah.
That would have been a disaster if I was
That's the
strictly shoveling.
Poster child.
And
for
I was
those.
by myself, too, because the boys were gone. TJ was working, Will's at school.
Not that they would have helped you if they were home.
Believe me, they would have helped me that day.
Okay.
Get your ass out here.
Correct.
Chad in L.A., question for the group regarding the draft. Is there any reason this year to trade up? I'm thinking about Abdul Carter in particular. I know we need a lot, but if we're willing to spend money to fill other positions, is there any logic to it?
Nah, I don't
I'm looking
think
at the
so.
ball knowers.
I don't think
You just
so.
have to give up stuff, and
It's a lot.
Yeah.
You know.
I just, when it comes to these trade scenarios, I keep coming back to the same thing. Like, why is the other team doing it?
Yeah.
Like, I can come up with a million arguments for the Patriots wanting to trade up, trade down, whatever, but I just don't think that this is the draft where that movement happens, because usually the movement happens for quarterbacks, right? So, like, teams that don't need quarterbacks move back, and the teams that do need quarterbacks move up. But in this draft, if you're not goo goo gaga over the quarterbacks, then why are we creating all this movement for? So, like, if you're the Titans and you're not taking the quarterbacks, right? You ruled the quarterbacks out. Like, why are you giving Abdul Carter to the Patriots? And then going back to 4 and then getting nobody.
Right.
Right? Like, so, like, that's the part that I guess, everybody has a price. Like, if you came at them and you gave them 3 first-round picks, then, like, maybe they would do it. But why would the Patriots do that?
Right.
So
It's hard to argue with that.
Yep. Russell in Florida, do you think the Patriots could go mostly defense in the draft and look to free agency and trades for offense? I haven't dug into the draft or free agency yet, but I'm assuming neither is loaded with talent. Off-season question. Excuse me, I had a meatball sub. What is one player, preferably a star or big-name guy, that was brought to the team in the Brady era that you were excited about but didn't work out at all, and one player that you always thought would be a Patriot at some point? Mine is Chad Johnson and J.J. Watt.
Guys that you were excited about that didn't work out.
Robert Gallery.
I kind of say Adalius Thomas. I don't think he was a total disaster, but I was way more excited than it actually translated
I think there's a
to.
lot of examples of that.
John Lynch.
Adalius Thomas.
But your Chad Johnson would. I mean, I kind of
Were you
thought
excited?
he was already done, but there was excitement.
Cam
around
Newton?
it.
Yeah.
But like they Cam Newton,
Hansworth.
Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Antonio
Albert
Brown.
Dante Stallworth was,
Yeah,
and
Dante
then all of a
Stallworth.
sudden they go out and get Randy Moss after that, and you're like, oh,
Right?
You know?
I thought Star Wars was the guy. The thing with Antonio Brown, though, was like you got a brief glimpse of how good it could have been for just a second. And
when
then
they won that game in Miami with Antonio Brown, I was like, they're gonna win the Super Bowl
Yeah,
again.
right.
Like that was they looked unstoppable.
Reggie Wayne.
Yep. Oh.
So I don't. Those kinds of moves, the Torrey Holtz and Reggie Waynes, the Joey Galloways,
Flyers.
They were like sort of
Yeah.
taking a shot, and later in their careers. But there were some guys that, like Adalius Thomas is probably the best example. Like this is a guy that's supposed to be in his prime that was going to be this difference-making
Belichick's
player,
kind of guy,
and he wasn't.
Move him
He
around.
was.
He played
good.
cornerback.
He was good in 2007, and then he really tailed off. Remember when he had the pick 6 against the Chargers
Look
in
at the
week 2?
speed of that man.
Yeah,
Going down the
everybody
sideline.
was just going crazy, and then he really never did much after that.
I think
That's
he was pretty
probably
good
the
in
best.
the Super Bowl, if I remember correctly. Like I don't know, stats wise.
Larry Fitzgerald would be the guy that they never
Amazing.
had.
What about Julius Peppers? Remember we had Vic
Vic.
Vic Carucci on the show live in studio saying they're gonna. I know from a good source that Julius Peppers is gonna be a Patriot.
Ugh.
Yeah,
he was a beast.
I was gonna say Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I thought
he's
for
still
su-
at the Hertz counter.
I thought for sure that he's in his last leg, Larry Fitzgerald.
And Bill loves him.
Come play with Brady, maybe win a ring, cap off the career.
Such a perfect Brady receiver.
Yeah.
And then he made this, the transition later in his career to the slot. And I was like,
perfect.
this is
This
perfect.
guy.
Yeah, I thought that Larry Fitzgerald would finally grow sick of losing in Arizona and come to the Patriots.
Yeah, that's a good question though.
But there were a lot of guys that I had, there was a couple of tight ends in there that I was excited about. I mean, Jonnu Smith would be a very recent one, but remember Dwayne Allen? I think they traded for. He never really panned out to do anything.
Yeah.
Scott Chandler.
Oh yeah, the 4 tight end thing.
Right,
Everybody
right,
was
right,
gaga over.
Right.
You know,
I forgot about him.
Never did anything.
Marty Bennett was good. That was a good signing.
Yeah.
It's a good signing.
Yeah.
Not his.
Just ask him.
Not Michael Bennett.
No, Martellus.
Martellus Bennett.
Yeah, just ask him.
I don't think. Did they win 28-3?
They did. Yeah, he danced with the cheerleaders after the AFC Championship.
I think he was not the.
Remember that? He took the pom poms.
He was big to that team. 2016.
Yeah. He'll tell you.
Good question though. Ed writes in, I assume Carter and Hunter are gone.
Michael Bennett would be an example of this.
Even worse. Sure.
No, I'm saying guy you were excited about who did nothing.
I wasn't excited about that one.
Yeah. Michael Bennett was a beast of a player.
Really good for the Seahawks.
Yep.
He was cash.
I assume Carter and Hunter are gone by the time we pick at 4. If we are not sold on any of the tackles at 4, if we are not sold on Graham at 4, why don't we call the Chargers to see how much they want for Rashawn Slater? Joe Alt wasn't drafted to play right tackle, and Slater will need paying after this year. We have the cap space to pay him, and he's young and better than what is available in the draft. Okay,
I think it's funny that the whole thing with Will Campbell is that we can't draft him because he has short arms, so we're going to go draft the poster child of short arm, or trade for the poster child of short arm tackles. I think all these trade scenarios are all well and good. I would probably do a handful of them, but I mean, I just don't find them to be too realistic.
I guess Deion Sanders was on the Rich Eisen show. Sam from St. Catharines writes in, and he says on the show, he said that when it comes to Hunter, he thinks it'll be easier for Travis to do what he does in the NFL with lighter practices compared to college, more breaks and huddles during the game, and more rules negating physicality on receivers and corners.
I don't have like much doubt about like endurance with him.
Yeah,
it's the focus, like in like how much time
ability. Like he's playing against the best in the world on both sides, and it's not about stamina.
No,
it's not just about stamina. It's about a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I'm more worried about during the week.
There's a lot of prep.
How do you
the mental?
Yeah,
right. Like how are you divvying up his time during the week to study? Like if you're gonna have him play corner at a high clip, and they're going against Miami, and he's got Tyreek Hill that week. Like, he's got to be in the film room watching Tyreek Hill and studying him and studying his patterns and his releases and his movements and all that kind of stuff. And then he also has to go worry about, like, whatever the game plan is on offense and studying, that side of the ball and worrying about that. Like, that to me is, like, how do you pack all of that into a work week and then come out on Sunday and put your best foot forward? Not so much about the physical attributes of it.
Maybe the from me, because I do that a lot too. I wonder, because when someone's talking, like Deuce or myself are off camera, it could be me doing the
It could be. Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm throwing my voice and you do it.
Yeah, could be. Audrey has a follow-up on her low energy email.
All right, let's hear it.
Just listen to the start of last Tuesday, Fred. Deuce sounds shaky, hosting right off the bat. Apologies immediately that it's him. Very nervous, ad reads, no smoothness or confidence. It's like proclaiming, this will probably be bad. Sorry, fans. Wow. Given the audio and phone problems weren't Mike's fault, but he struggled with any transitions to keep it going. I'm surprised he hasn't settled into this by now. I think he's trying too hard, trying to be like you. Needs to find his own groove. I look forward to the day it doesn't sound awkward. Wow.
Wow. All right. Well,
I think that's just awkward Mike. That's his thing.
I guess.
Yeah.
I'll try to do better.
Yeah, he's
a high bar.
He's the father who walks in on his son, in the bathroom, like
What?
It's awkward. It's
Where are we
awkward.
going?
Hello, son.
Show with Dundee.
Oh, excuse me. Bring a little energy to the show,
What was that?
Yeah.
Hair gel.
Okay. Wow, you guys really are
What
low
happened to your
energy. What the hell is wrong with
what
all
happened
of
to
you?
your transition?
What is wrong with you?
We're beaten down.
Audrey just kicked out my three-legged stool of self-confidence, so I'm, trying to.
I don't know.
Trying to rally right now.
You know what? Maybe Eldred can bring some energy to the show. What's up, Eldred? There we go. You just
Hey, fellas.
caused a big
How y'all doing?
pile up on 95. What's up?
Coast on Highway 40.
Hey, Mike, you were fine, man. Don't worry about that, man.
Fine,
I
good.
enjoyed it because I listened to the podcast.
Perfectly
3
adequate,
times
and you're
after
at a
y'all.
closet.
You know what I mean?
Appreciate you.
So, hey, you're great, dog. Don't worry about that. And then you got a bonus pick, but you don't know what you did. You must have spiked the Kool-Aid. But I got a trade scenario, and I know it might sound kind of funny, but I ain't got no plan for Pope. I'll trade Pope for A.D. Mitchell since they didn't use him that much in Indianapolis, but he did have more yards, more touchdowns, and that's your outside receiver. But I let it go at that, and I hear y'all on the radio.
Okay.
Love you guys. Take
All
care.
right. Thanks, Eldred.
Just what we needed. Thanks, Eldred.
Yeah.
You were fine.
Perfectly fine.
You were fine, Mike.
Fine.
Did a fine job. It's going to be a fine sailor.
It's great. Grand.
Yeah. I like A.D. Mitchell. That's it. That's all.
How did he do this year? Not so
Not great.
Nothing?
No.
He didn't do much.
I look wrong on A.D.
How did he
Mitchell
look,
so
though?
far.
Did he look good?
He didn't do the 525 thing, right? Is
I
that
can't.
what it is?
Not even close.
What is it? 5?
Who got the 525?
It's like
No,
550, I think.
Yeah.
550.
I don't
Is there a
remember
list
the
of
whole saying, but it's 550
receivers
yards.
that got it last year?
pretty
It's
much all of
actually-
them.
It's actually not as many as you would think outside of the first round. Like obviously, all of the first round guys did. McConkey and Keon Coleman, I think, just made it.
He did?
Yeah.
And then Jalen McMillan might have.
Worthy?
First round. Worthy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
32.
Yeah. I was looking at
Or
this yesterday, though,
20,
because, like,
30,
I actually do think this draft, and I know we're up against it, but this draft I do think is decent day 2 wide receivers. Like, I think there are some day 2 wide receivers. I wrote about it today, but I thought it was the hit rate was higher last year than it ended up being when I went back and looked at it. Like McConkey is obviously like the golden goose there, but outside of him, it wasn't like a ton of hits instantly. But there's always one McConkey was the point I was trying to.
Gotta find him.
Yeah.
Just ask Fred.
Curtis in St. Louis. We'll finish up with this email. 3 questions. Paul, further educate me, please. I understand how free agency works, but can you tell me when teams are allowed to sign or extend their own players and free agents? And when can other teams, like the Patriots, make calls to other teams about potential trade candidates?
You can do the former anytime. If you want to extend a guy right now, like the Patriots extended Jeremiah Farms.
Yep.
Like last week. He was going to be an exclusive rights free agent. And I think they gave him a 2-year deal, Mike?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. So you can extend a guy that's on your team because he doesn't become an official free agent until the start of the league year. So he's still, your property, so to speak, to negotiate with. I think the tampering period is, would you say, Ev?
March 10th is the tampering period, and then the official league year is the 12th.
So that's officially when teams are allowed to have these conversations now.
We'll have them
there
next
is
week.
clearly going to be a lot of that going on at the combine. But these teams that put out the flyers, Cooper Kupp, we're
that means we're open for business.
They're calling. They can call other teams.
Yeah.
The Patriots can call teams and ask about the availability of T. Higgins in a trade if they want to.
Yep.
That's not tampering.
Right.
You can call and say
you just can't go to the player directly.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Like not without the permission of the team.
Right.
But you can call GMs can call GMs and try to swing deals anytime.
You
can't consummate the trade until the start of the league year.
Right. I have a thought on the ball placement when it comes to first downs. I think of an invisible dog fence. What if there's a chip in the ball and they add 2 sensors at each end, and then they add sensor lasers on each of the first down markers? If at any time the ball passes the markers before the play is called dead, they're kind of working on that. That's the idea. And finally, if there's time, a fun would you rather for Evan? Would you rather the Patriots make it to the Super Bowl during May's rookie contract, or get to sit in the Patriots war room and take in all the magic during the next 3 drafts?
It's a good would you rather.
That's tough. I'm gonna appease the masses and say Super Bowl in his rookie contract, so all of you can enjoy that together. But in my heart of hearts, the war room does sound pretty tempting.
But you would rather be in the war room,
Yes.
for a potentially terrible draft. You have no way of knowing. Then Super Bowl?
That's why I said I
Fair
would
point.
do.
No, I
Super
know, but
Bowl.
you like
Think
you're sort of
about it.
making a concession for us.
But what if you in the war room and you can't say anything?
Well, I would think that would be the case, but a fly on the wall, like I would love to be a fly on the wall just for some of the meetings that they're
That's what I
having
think
right
would be
now.
almost more interesting because I think the draft thing is kind of like, all right, so Joe Blow, yeah, we'll go Joe Blow, yeah, all right, we get him, you know, like
He wants to be in the war room so that when he has his debates with Barth, and be like, "You're wrong. You're wrong."
Those are my favorite ones.
I know we've had this
Right.
before.
The trump
I
card.
really don't understand why you don't pursue a career in it. I don't, and I'm being dead serious. Like that's what
appreciate that,
that's
Paul.
what it. I didn't say you had the talent to do it. Don't don't take it as a compliment.
Did you say that?
I'm saying that's clearly what you want to do. Like I don't really have a lot of interest in being a fly on the wall in that room. Like would it be interesting that they want to do so instead of Lazar? Yeah, I would be, and then 10 minutes later I'd forget all about it.
Right.
He would be like that's his Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
I think it's different. Like it's obviously for some of that is to like know ahead of time who they're. But I also just want to hear how they talk about the players. Like. Yeah. Because I think that the conversations they have are closer to the conversations we have than
I don't think there's any question.
People realize.
Yeah.
So I just want to see like how far off am I when I like Barth and I are doing our thing on Catch 22. Like I'm not saying that my knowledge is at their level, but like how far off are we that are we looking at the right things? Are we having the right conversations? That sort of thing.
Talked to your boy Alex yesterday. Congratulated him. He's going.
Oh, he is going to the
He is
combine.
going.
Oh, that's great. On his own dime?
Yeah.
On his own dime?
No.
He's got per diem and
So
everything.
they have
Got
like,
your per diem.
what's his role? Are they going to do a show down there, or what are they doing?
They're going to have him go around, and then he'll call in to the shows back home.
See the influence we have?
Yeah.
That was
they
all-
wouldn't have done
that
it.
was
We
all
put
Fred.
pressure
Mover
on
and
them.
shaker,
He
Fred.
should thank us.
I don't want
The Kingmaker.
I don't want to
I'm the
drop
one that left
names,
me
but there
behind.
were certain people at the station, I believe, that also put some pressure on them that are high ranking. So it was all angles.
Okay, but it started here.
100%.
So we're trying to do
Started here.
a live Catch 22 on
You started
Wednesday.
it, Freddie.
Yeah.
With our guys live show
Yes.
next week.
Okay.
100%.
We'll have to figure that out. All right, that's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. We'll probably be back on Thursday. We'll try to bring more energy. I'm sorry, Audrey. We'll do better on Thursday.
Me too, Audrey.
We'll see you then.
I don't know.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.